welcome to Dualshock'd, the Brotherhood of Geeks PlayStation podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brett J. Rasmussen, and over here, I got my other co-host.
You got Spectre in exile here in the basement for now.
In exile, but at least I can see you now.
Yeah, it's just barely. I'm on my laptop, so I'm using my onboard webcam. I'm using my onboard mic. I don't have any of my fancy stuff here, and not that I had like really fancy stuff in general, anyways. But this is very rugged compared to what I'm used to. So I apologize in advance for the lower quality video and audio.
Well,
but this should all be over within like another week or so. Like my new office is done. I'm just moving stuff into it. My new desk comes sometime next week, according to Amazon. So it should be hopefully within another week or two. Hopefully by the time of the Bethesda showcase and everything, I'm hoping everything is going to be set up. Is my goal.
Yeah. So hey man, at least you're here. I can see you now. You're not just a voiceless, ethereal being from the last episode. That was actually really fun because it was just me on camera and you just speaking. But
I was like your inner voice, like your conscience.
No, no. I will disagree with you on that because I know what my inner voice sounds like.
There's some inner voice in you that wants you to to have more risque and racy opinions and think critically about things. We could role play it like that. Like
example,
I'm a voice in your head. You're like a multiple personality thing.
Example: PC greater than PlayStation. That's wrong, head. Anyway,
that's just a fact.
I have no idea what you mean. Spectre, brain, shut up. Anyway, jokes aside, and now that we know Spectre's here, at least we can see him. And yes, it is like he's using the audio. Honestly, the audio's fine, dude. But we can see you. Your camera's fine, but we do know you have much better equipment. But that is a-okay. You're here. It's great. But this
very, very rugged too. I've been very busy. Like been running around. Running around, moving shelves around, and just I've been. It's been that kind of that kind of situation for a week or so here.
I've been looking rugged for over a year, so like you're fine.
That's just every day for you. That's just a Tuesday for you, right?
Exactly. But again, this is episode 67. Today we are going to be talking about EA is looking to sell or merge the company. We're going to be talking about Sony had a pretty much a call, an investor call, and during the call they mentioned that they're going to be doing they expect to make $300 million off of PC games this year. Sony wants to be done with PS4 games by 2025, along with Sony announces that Horizon is coming to Netflix, God of War is coming to Amazon, and there will be a Gran Turismo series. So they're going to be doing 3 other TV shows on top of Last of Us, which will be on HBO. And then, finally, in our main topic, we are going to do predictions on all of the not E3 stuff that's happening within the next week or more. You have Summer Game Fest, you have the Xbox Bethesda Showcase, and Sony just announced there will be a State of Play coming up very, very, very soon. But we'll be getting into all of that and more in this episode of Dualshock'd. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. YouTube.com/Brotherhood of Geeks. Like, comment, share, subscribe, tell everyone you know, tell everyone you don't know, all that kind of stuff. And then you can also follow us on all of our socials and all that kind of stuff, and we'll go back through that later. But please subscribe to our channel if you like what we do. Press the like button. We greatly appreciate it. With that being said, how you doing, Spectre? How you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Really, it's the only thing that really sucks about this arrangement right now, it's busy, it's a lot of work. And I really haven't had time to game, sadly, but I've been, keeping busy with other things and entertaining myself with other things too. Because I can't just, move stuff and work 24/7. You got to take some time off. So One of the things I've been doing is sort of just a small project. Is I have a Wii system set up actually down here in the basement, and it's Wii, of course, is a great system to mod. There's a very active homebrew community for that, so it's a fantastic system to mod. You can do a lot of crazy fun things for Wii. It's a really cheap system to do it for too, because I got this one for like less than $100 with a controller and everything. So I highly recommend, if you have time, play around with that, the homebrew channel and everything, because you can do a lot of cool stuff, play a lot of classic games on it very, very easily. So one of the things I'm doing, because this is a used system I got, and I know people don't in general take care of their stuff as well as I do. I'm very, very OCD with my stuff usually. So this is a used system. So I'm actually completely disassembling the Wii right now, which I've never done before. I've never completely disassembled a Wii system, or really any Nintendo system aside from a Nintendo 64. So I'm doing that right now, and I have a new case I'm actually putting on. It's a transparent case. So instead of the regular black case that's on it, I'm going to replace that with a transparent case. I think I got it from Amazon for like $20 or something. But it's very like it's a fun little like DIY project I'm doing. So it's in the process, of course, giving it a deep cleaning, because I'm sure it's going to be absolutely filthy when I get in there. I've just started kind of tinkering with it now, but I'm sure it's going to be absolutely filthy and dusty in there. And aside from that, I mean, not really a whole lot else. I did watch it's not video game related, but I did watch the Obi-Wan show that just came out on Disney, and you'll be shocked that I did not immediately hate it. And I mean, it's only 2 episodes that are out right now, and I went for both of those. Not I wouldn't say, like I didn't have that immediate visceral reaction. I didn't hate it. It's I mean, we'll see. I'm sure that'll change. I'm sure I'll be disappointed in some things. Couple character choices I don't really care for so far, but it's whatever. The show is just getting its footing. At least it's better than pretty much everything else I've seen out of Disney Star Wars so far. So
you didn't like Mandalorian? You didn't like Mandalorian or Boba Fett?
No, Mandalorian didn't grip me at all.
Huh.
I didn't care for. I watched 2 episodes into that, and I didn't have any desire to watch any more. And I didn't care for any of the movies. Some of the movies were less offensive than others, I guess you could say. Rogue One maybe, and the Han Solo movie was pretty boring, but I mean, I guess it was an entertaining movie for an hour and a half. The sequels were just absolute garbage. The sequel trilogy was terrible, and I think does damage the Star Wars and the brand that will really never be repaired. So I know we disagree on that, but I don't want to get off on a rant on that. But the point being is that at least I found something that I sort of enjoy, from them, and we'll see. I'm sure they're going to ruin it somehow before the series ends. But I mean, it's at least, if nothing else, you got Ian McGregor back. You got all these prequel era actors in it as well too. I like the consistency of that.
Yeah, and
it's just nice to see them having one last hurrah. And before they're too old to play these parts, really, So I'll probably watch the rest of it, and I am enjoying it so far. That's really all I've had time for in between, moving stuff around and all the other stuff going on in my life right now. So it's I do want to get back into gaming. It's more so I'm in that stage of my life where I have all the games and all the equipment and stuff that I could ever want. It's just that I don't have the time. Yeah, it's that's the thing. So but I'm hoping that's gonna change here pretty soon.
But yeah, I mean, like, dude, like, I haven't seen Obi-Wan yet, and I just need to go ahead and take a sit down with it. But you are not wrong. Like, I enjoyed Episode 7, like Force Awakens, even though it was just A New Hope all over again. I enjoyed that. Last Jedi, I defended. Like, I actually enjoyed Last Jedi. Not as much as Force Awakens, but I did enjoy that while everyone hated it. And then Rise of Skywalker came out and tears that whole thing apart, and I have no way to defend it, because Rise of Skywalker, if you think longer than 5 minutes, the entire thing falls apart. So no, I agree. The sequel trilogy is not good. It's fun. It's fun if you just turn your brain off. But if you're thinking lore and everything, but I love the prequels. And they're great. And yeah,
prequels have grown on me over the years. But yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
The original trilogy was a masterpiece, and you're really not just going to repeat that. It's just what it comes down to.
But like for me, you mentioned Disney Plus. I have been on a tear um of the Tangled TV show. So you know Tangled, the Disney movie, like the 2012
There's a
Disney.
Tangled TV show.
Yes. Okay. I get it. I completely understand this, okay? Cuz like even when I heard this years ago, cuz they came out there were only 3 seasons from 2017 to 2019. Even when they announced it, I'm like, what is this? Is this okay? I guess this is a whatever. It's a Disney Channel show. And no. Okay, whatever. Fun. Whatever. Great. Oh, the kiddies are gonna like it. My friends have told me, like, dude, this show is good. Like, it's really, really good.
That the like Rapunzel
Yes.
thing, whatever.
Yes.
Like,
So, the show takes
I didn't
place.
see it or anything, but
Well, mind you, Spectre, there's a lot of things you don't like. I'm probably guessing if you watched it, you'll be like, please just end me. But
probably, yeah.
but that's Spectre. For most of the people, you'll be fine. But the reason why when I was driving around and I heard there are songs made by Alan Menken made for the show, and I was like driving around. I have Sirius XM and I have the Disney Channel on my Sirius XM radio because I'm a child and I love Disney. And
You have Sirius XM too, like
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how you make ends meet sometimes. I really don't. Like that's another subscription service thing.
I have it for free.
Like,
I have it for free. So like
okay,
I have it for free.
Like,
so but anyway, so I was on the Disney Channel thing, and I heard one of the songs called "Ready as I Can Ever Be," and I'm like, "What is this song?" And I found out it's from this show, and there's a lot of like really good, just like character building, lore building, and that kind of stuff. So I've been on this tear of this show, and I highly recommend it to anyone if you're game. But I've been watching a lot of that. What else have I been up to? Of course, I've been playing video games. For me, I've been playing the new season of Destiny, season of the Haunted. Solar 3.0 just came out, and pretty much I think it's like I think the snap. There's a guy from an anime. I think it's Roy Mustang. I gotta double check because my friends were telling me about this when
from Full Metal Alchemist.
Yes, I think so. It's yeah, Roy Mustang, because he snaps. Every time he snaps, he's just throwing fire all over the place. So they gave Warlocks, which is the class I play, you snap and like a volley of fireballs get launched in front of you.
They're doing like some sort of like crossover things and stuff like that.
Destiny likes to do like really fun, like kind of like reference, like a lot of the emotes are references to dances or movies or like memes or.
We get that a lot with World of Warships too. I mean, there's right now they're doing like another Azure Lane, which is like an anime crossover. They did Transformers crossover, a Warhammer crossover. So yeah, a lot of online games kind of they like to do those crossover events. It's a good way to kind of probably boost sales.
Like, but it's not like, hey, it's Roy Mustang. It's called an incendiary snap. It's just, but you just do it. So you snap and a volley of fire comes out, and there's an exotic armor piece called the Sun Bracers. And they're arm piece, and you put them on your arms. And the way it works is that when you get kills in melee, so with this, you snap and you get a kill off of the volleys. I think for a few seconds, it's like 5+ seconds, you get unlimited grenades. And it's solar grenades, so you just are throwing these solar grenades, and they hit the floor, and they just kind of, it's a fireball. It's literally like a big old, like, mini sun that just sits there, and it's, like, burning everything in sight. So you're just, like, throwing fireballs into the ground, into enemies, and everything, and, like, all this stuff. There's tons of, like, really cool stuff. Like, I love Solar 3.0. They did Void 3.0 last season when Witch Queen first came out. Really fun, but God, I love Solar 3.0. So I've been playing that. Playing in the new season, which is really fun. The story is just as good. So I've been pretty much spending a lot of time with that over the past week. Of course, been playing other games here from there, like Lego Star Wars and other stuff. But we're kind of just as we kind of keep going, we're in a lull right now. I know that Evil Dead just came out, and that game has actually been very fun. My friends have been playing it, and they've been enjoying it a lot because it's like Evolve or Friday the 13th or Dead by Daylight.
I'd love to try it. I mean, I'm a big Evil Dead fan of the movies and everything, but I'm not gonna get it on. I mean, like I said, I'm on PC. I'm not gonna get it on Epic. I'll forget that. I'll wait. I'll wait till it comes out
for you. I forgot it's only on Epic for you. Well, you got rid of your PlayStation. You could have played it on there.
No, it's all right.
Spectre's on a PlayStation podcast and doesn't have a PlayStation. Jesus. Why do I have you here?
Pretty soon, not only do I not have like a current PlayStation, pretty soon I won't even have a past PlayStation. I've literally like systematically gotten rid of all of them almost. Like I got rid of my PlayStation 4, sold that. Mm-hmm. You're going to be taking my PlayStation 3 soon. Mm-hmm. My God of War PlayStation 3. I gave away my slim PS2 and I sold everything else. Yeah, so pretty soon after you take my PS3, I'll have 0 PlayStations in my possession.
And
other than the only one I'll actually have is the white PSP, the Darth Vader PSP. And that's basically just, I don't even have a battery in the thing. That's just not for gaming. That's just for display purposes only as a Star Wars item.
I'm curious, do you still have the box for that?
Yeah, actually I do.
Oh, you bastard. Oh, man. Oh, God, I would love to have that. But I know why you have it, because you have your own, like, Star Wars room, and that's, like, built for that, so...
That's we'll tease that, I guess, on this one here, because I will eventually do a video. I promise. Actually, if anything, you'll see a glimpse of it when I do my unboxing videos, which I am getting around to as soon as I get a spare moment. I'm trying to do that this weekend, actually.
It's fine
because I will be doing my unboxing videos actually in my Star Wars collectible room, so you'll get a glimpse of that.
There you go. But yeah, so shall we begin with what we always begin with, Spectre?
With prayer?
No. I mean, good guess, but no. This is
okay.
This is news of the nation. Yeah. All right. So let's begin. First topic is that EA is looking to sell or merge to other companies. Now, the report comes from Kotaku. That is the report. This is coming from Kotaku. But Kotaku I always take Kotaku with a big pinch of salt. So I did look other places, and I got the Video Games Chronicle, which also cross references this report. But Kotaku is the original report. So, from Kotaku, the video game market is consolidating like never before, and Electronic Arts is scrambling like everyone else. Battlefield and FIFA Maker recently pursued a merger with NBC Universal, and also held potential acquisition talks with Disney, Apple, and other companies, according to a new report by Puck, which Puck is another site, but it has been paywalled. There is no way to go through without paying through it. While a deal isn't currently in the works, it doesn't sound like EA plans to give up anytime soon. Quote, in recent years, as media companies have taken greater interest in the rapidly growing gaming industry, Wilson and Electronic Arts have held talks with a number of different potential suitors, including Disney, Apple, and Amazon. Sources with knowledge of those talks told me, wrote PAX's veteran media reporter Dylan Byers. Continuing, several sources familiar with these talks say EA has been persistent in pursuing a sale and has only grown more emboldened in the wake of Microsoft's Activision deal. Others say that EA is primarily interested in a merger arrangement that would allow Wilson to remain as chief executive of the combined company. But it was apparently a deal with NBC Universal that got the farthest along. According to buyers, Comcast CEO Brian Roberts was looking to spin off the entertainment conglomerate into a separate entity with EA, with one version of the deal leaving current EA CEO Andrew Wilson in charge of the new mega business. Negotiations eventually fell apart over price, however. Quote, "We don't comment on rumors and speculation relating to M&A." EA spokesperson John Reisberg, told Kotaku in a statement. "We are proud to be operating from a position of strength and growth with a portfolio of amazing games built around powerful IP made by incredibly talented teams and a network of more than 500 million players. We see a very bright future ahead." And then it continues talking about all the different. We talked about Take-Two, maybe looking to get a deal, and so on and so on and so on. So yeah, Spectre, what do you think about this?
So, I mean, am I hearing that correctly? So EA actually wants to be bought out or acquired? I mean,
they want to be merged. So they don't want to be like EA wants to still have like
they don't want to be like completely bought out. They want to do like some sort of merger. Okay, I gotcha.
Where it's not like unlike with Activision and Bethesda and Bungie, where now mind you, Bungie still run like Bungie still is doing Bungie things. Like we even talked about it last on our last episode, last week where Bungie, like, you know, Jim Ryan had his whole emails about the Roe v. Wade stuff, and Bungie's like, we're gonna go ahead and say what we want no matter what, even though we have been acquired by Sony. We're gonna say our stuff, no, like that kind of thing. So Bungie still operates on like Bungie. So it's not like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that like it's not that whoever buys them owns them. It's that now it's EA is working hand in hand with whoever, whether it's, you know, like, and mind you, apparently they don't want to be bought by Sony or Microsoft. They want a media company. So Amazon, they said Amazon, Disney, Apple, and NBC Universal. So Peacock. So pretty much Peacock, Disney Plus, Apple Plus, and something else, can't remember.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of. I feel like we're coming. You know, we're fast approaching a future where it's we're just gonna have, you know, like one company that's just running everything. You know, it's gonna be like this kind of Blade Runner-esque thing where you have, you know, like these one or two mega corporations, and you know, it's just gonna be like just this. It's going to be this monopolistic type of thing. So I don't know how that's going to look, or you know, but it's just, I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of pessimistic about this future we're rapidly heading towards.
Yeah, and it looks like just ever since the pandemic, like even Ubisoft has been kind of thinking about it. Take-Two, Square Enix like sold off Eidos Montreal, Square Enix Montreal, and Crystal Dynamics to the Embracer Group, which like the Embracer Group is just a company that just holds ownership to multiple different video game developers.
Well, that's a little different though, because that's taking, you know, these, you know, some of them were kind of dormant IPs like Deus Ex or Legacy of Kain, and selling them to another company that might actually finally do something and utilize those IPs. So, you know, that's.
Sorry, go on. I was
gonna say that's a little different from, you know, how can I say? That's a little bit different from just a bunch of companies just kind of molding into one kind of like, you know, Voltron style thing. And kind of ruling the world essentially. You know what I mean?
Well, the companies themselves have been active
and I think. Yeah, and I understand, you know, they have every right to do that and blah blah blah, and I just think that it's, from a consumer perspective, I'm concerned that, where is this heading to? You know what I mean?
I mean, it's it's all about the green. It's all about the money. It's about, these companies.
Well, we know that's what they want, but I mean, for for us as consumers, how do
I
we react
mean,
to that?
dude, EA is such a, I don't trust any of their sports games. Madden is terrible. FIFA is terrible. I'm actually happy that EA doesn't have the sole rights to FIFA. I'm actually very happy that um that fell through. That the FIFA organization is going to go to other places, and they're going to see who wants the license and stuff. Um so that kind of makes it more competitive, and that's a good thing. Mind you, Jedi Fallen Order is a fantastic game. Um, Came out, I think, like two years ago. Feels like it was either 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember, but it was very, very good. It was an EA Star Wars game. Um, Respawn was part of it, and Respawn did a fantastic job with that game. So I mean, it's EA the company, not the developers themselves, because the developers themselves, if you let them do their job, they can make good games. It's just that EA goes, you have to put in microtransactions, you have to do this. I mean, look at Battlefield 2052, or the new Battlefield, whatever its year is, 2532 or whatever it is. That game has been being ripped apart. Dice
Honestly,
has no idea what
I've
it's
almost
doing.
forgotten. I think I forgot the title to it too, just because it's so irrelevant now. The game is just so, who cares?
It there's so many problems with that game. Dice keeps going 2042. There we go. But anyway, Dice has been there's so
I
many.
think we have more viewers than they have players at this point.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I mean, that game is just
But
terrible.
42 is the number of players left, I think.
Probably less than that, combined, on every platform. But anyway, all I'm saying is it's so hit and miss with EA. So I don't know. Maybe it would be a good thing, but if you keep Andrew Wilson at the helm, I don't think that's helpful, because Andrew Wilson's the guy who's pushing all of the all of the practices that we hate as consumers. Andrew Wilson's the guy who's pushing them. So
Yeah, and I mean, EA definitely not a company with a great track record. I mean, obviously it goes without saying. I mean, it's been like this since forever, and every once in a while you do get something truly great. It's a broken clock. Being right twice a day type of thing with them.
yeah.
Every once in a while you'll get a Dead Space or a Mirror's Edge or even, I would even include Fallen Order, and that Fallen Order was okay. So I mean, every once in a while you'll get that, but for everything like that, you'll get a Dead Space 3, or a million, or like a
Mass
Mass
Effect
Effect
Andromeda.
3.
You'll get an Andromeda.
Yeah, you'll get all that stuff, and any company that produces the number of games that EA has, that they're bound to make a good hit every once in a while. Just by sheer randomness, I would imagine. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't like the idea of them getting their tendrils even further deep in other in other companies and stuff.
Yeah, I agree, but I guess we'll see. But let's move on. Next topic is that PlayStation Plus premium gameplay has been shown of PS1 games running on PS5. So this comes from Games Radar. So we're really close to the new PlayStation Plus. We've talked about this multiple times on this show. We talked about the new rollout on our episode called This is Spartacus. We've talked about this multiple times through News of the Nation, different topics, stuff like that. But now we have a gameplay being shown of Oddworld Odyssey? No, Oddworld Abe's Odyssey. I'm sorry. The old PS1 game. And there's a YouTube video connected to it. But this is from Games Radar. It says, earlier today on May 23rd, VGC posted the video just below to their YouTube channel, giving an early look at Oddworld Abe's Odyssey running on a PS5 via the PlayStation Plus service. This is the first time seeing the emulated version of a classic PlayStation game in action ahead of the service's full launch in Europe and North America next June. Throughout the video, we see various new features implemented in the classic game. There's save states, for example, a feature which was not previously available in the game when it launched over 20 years ago on the original PlayStation, as well as the ability to rewind live gameplay to revisit any particular part of the game. In actual fact, the PlayStation Plus service is launching for Asian territories tomorrow, which would be May 24th. And it appears the region has received the service a little earlier than planned. However, hence why we're seeing the footage of Abe's Odyssey running in full here. So there we go. Which I watched the video, and it is an emulation, and I have no problem with that. And it does make me happy that PS1 games are getting trophy support. Now, mind you, it's not every single game. It has been said that PlayStation is not forcing developers or companies or whoever holds the IP that there must be trophy support. It could just be here's the game. For instance, Toy Story 2, which was one of my favorite games back in the day, that does not have trophy support. That will not have trophies. Just here's the game, bam, on premium. Here's the game. You want to play this old game, bam. It's the emulated version of it. So we got that.
Well, I mean, it is like I say, that is one nice thing about all this. Like I said, I'm not a fan of. I mean, I guess you can just buy these games one on like as a la carte, right? You don't have to have these as part of like.
Yes.
So I mean, so I guess it doesn't really necessarily tie into like PlayStation Plus or Premium or whatever, but so I mean, I guess it is nice that they are re-releasing these with some updated features to them. It is. Does it say anything about the pricing on these? I'm not familiar with the pricing.
So I'm going from IGN because there's more about this from IGN. So PS1 games on New Plus will seemingly have a CRT filter option and more. So IGN then talks more about this. Is that listings on the Malaysian PlayStation Store have appeared ahead of the revamped Plus service launching in Asia on May 24th, which is now current, with options to buy some PS1 games separately. As reported by Reset Era user Broken Swifty, Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, Worms World Party, and Worms Armageddon are all listed as PS1 emulations, ranging in price from the equivalent of $5 to $10. So, $4.99.
And that seems pretty fair. I know, of course. I mean, obviously, anyone can pretty easily emulate all these titles, for free. Obviously, I mean, very easily at this point on literally almost any device you can think of. But if they're going to go for the effort of adding extra features and trophies and stuff like that, I could see this being worth $5 each. So I'm actually in this specific area. I don't necessarily have a beef with what they're doing. I think this sounds all right to me. As long as it's something where like they add trophies or they add rewind and save state features and cool filters and stuff like that. I think that's kind of a nice, neat idea.
I believe the whole save features or the rewind stuff, I think that is all implemented into it. It's the trophies that are on a case by case basis. I could be wrong, but I
guess that's understandable. I mean, maybe it depends on, it's something that obviously there has to be some degree of development time to go into, and these games of course never originally had trophies. So I mean, they have to of course come up with trophies
exactly
and implement them and put them into the game itself. So I mean, there's some work involved in this. This isn't just a copy paste job, So I this is one area where I say it's fair. I mean, if you're pricing most of these games at $5, I think that's fairly reasonable.
Yeah, $5 to $10 for these games if you want to buy them separately is not bad. I have no problem with, like, if you want the service, you pay the $120. I don't agree with the pricing of that, but it is what it is, and you can go to our past episodes of Dualshock'd to hear our discussions on that. But having the option to buy whichever ones you want outright is nice. It is a good thing to have. I am not opposed to. Not only is this, Abe's Odyssey is on Plus, but it's also, or Plus Premium, it's also available to buy for like $10 or whatever it would be. I like that. It is really nice. But yeah, and we like Siphon Builders getting trophy support, which is great. Like, I have no problem also. Not every game needs to have trophies. And the thing is like, it takes time. I was arguing with my brother about this, or debated with my brother about this. He is mad. Like, he had PlayStation Now and stuff. He called me up. He's like, this sucks. I hate this. And I'm like, dude, it's going to take time and effort. And we don't know, like, how easy the code is to get. Like, for all we know is, like, you can't just kind of rip a code from a PS1 disc and then, like, copy, paste, and move it. Like, you have to make sure the coding is still there. And we've seen there have been tons of games that have been lost into the ether because the coding is corrupted or just gone. In the past, like, I'm just talking about, like, in the past games, whatever, like DLC or whatever. So we don't know. Again, there's a whole process to this, and you can add trophies later. You can patch them in. Like, there's so many things you can do in the new age of technology we're in today. So this is awesome. This is good for me. Anything else?
No, I think we can move on.
All right, let's move on. Next topic. This is from IGN. And again, if I haven't stated before, I will state this again. If you want to follow us along, all the sources are in the description, just like we have here. But continuing, from IGN, Deus Ex Studio worked on a really cool canceled version of Final Fantasy 15, which was actually Eidos Montreal, your studio that you enjoy, Spectre. So from the IGN article, let's go. Deus Ex Human Revolution developer Eidos Montreal worked on a canceled version of Final Fantasy 15 before Square Enix returned development back to its Japanese studios. Jonathan Jacques Belletet, I probably said it wrong, I'm sorry.
Probably.
In an ex-director for Eidos Montreal told True Achievements that his studio once worked on a, quote, really, really cool version of the game. Eidos Montreal brought back Deus Ex. I was the art director on that. Deus Ex Human Revolution, he said. Then the executive art director of Mankind Divided. Then we tried to do Final Fantasy 15. Then they tried to bring it back to Japan, which I think was a big mistake. But it's still the truth. Ours was really, really cool. It's unclear from Jock's comments when or how long Eidos Montreal was working on the game, or if it reached any significant stages of development. However, in 2018, YouTuber Super Bunny Hop reported on the existence of the project, saying that it was a, quote, space opera RPG with Western appeal, but wasn't much more fully fledged as a project than a plan for game design and early art. So how would you think? Because I know you.
It wasn't like a fully fleshed out thing yet. It sounds like just an idea.
No, it sounded like Square Enix pretty much ripped it away from Eidos Montreal before it could kind of finalize, even into like a demo or something. But they were working on a really cool idea, which was a space opera, but with Western appeal. I know Eidos Montreal is one of your favorite developers because you love Deus Ex. Actually, just a little quick peek behind the curtain. Spectre's logo that we've used when the pandemic was happening, when he wasn't able to be on camera, is a reference to Deus. It's a Deus Ex reference, with the coloring and all the pattern designs.
Well, so is my name too. My name is actually, I guess to kind of give a very quick explanation, is kind of I picked the handle just because it's sort of like I like things like when references kind of overlap over each other. Like so. I mean, Spectre is a reference to, of course, first and foremost, James Bond, Spectre, the villainous organization in there. It's also obviously a Mass Effect reference as well to Spectre's your main character you play as is a Spectre, and then of course. In a roundabout way, it's also a Deus Ex reference because, of course, Deus Ex, helmed by Warren Spector for the original Deus Ex, of course. So it's a different spelling, of course, for his last name. It's with like an OR, but it is also meant to be a reference to that. So that's kind of where how I came up with that handle. Essentially, you kind of just nothing too extremely creative. You kind of just make a reference to what you love, And I couldn't think of a really good like Silent Hill, kind of like moniker to have. So I just went with that.
But that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But like continuing with this is that Eidos Montreal is one of your favorite developers. You were actually upset where last year at E3 you found out that Eidos Montreal was working on, mind you, the fantastic Guardians of the Galaxy game, but it wasn't the next Deus Ex or something different.
Yeah, I feel like it's such a waste of talent. I mean, I think anyone can make a Guardians of the Galaxy game or a Marvel game. I mean, it's I mean, these scripts write themselves. I'm actually going to see a Marvel movie tomorrow under duress. I don't necessarily want to see it, but I'm kind of along for the ride. And yeah, these movies, they sort of just, I mean, it's the same old predictable crap every single time. And I think a studio like Eidos Montreal, they're better than this. They can do a much more complicated, interesting game than some Marvel garbage.
So with you saying that they can do bigger, more complicated things.
I'm actually I'll say this at the outset. I'm a defender of Final Fantasy 15. I played through and completed Final Fantasy 15. I'll probably play through it again at some point. It's not my favorite Final Fantasy game by any stretch of the imagination, but I didn't hate it. It was all right. I mean, it was. I think I enjoyed it more so from a gameplay perspective than from anything else. I just had a good time just running around in the open world and kind of just taking the game at its own pace. I mean, it's very different from like past like the last Final Fantasy I played before that. I think was like 10 and stuff like that. More linear games.
Yeah.
And 15 is much more really from the outset much more open world, and you can kind of go in any direction. So that was kind of refreshing to see like in a Final Fantasy game. And I enjoyed it. I'm not even a Final Fantasy fan. I would not call myself a Final Fantasy fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Eidos Montreal doing a take on it though. I mean,
that's what I was getting to.
I would have, and I'm building to that. And I mean, I would have loved to have seen that. I mean, it sounds like they were very early in the stages of considering it. But I mean, on paper, their idea that they had of like a space opera, and I mean, hey, it could have been something that was really amazing. I mean, really, honestly, if they had been working on anything, even if it was a Final Fantasy game, I would have probably enjoyed that over what we got from them. Like, I know you enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy, but you probably would have enjoyed it. You probably would have enjoyed it all the same from nearly any other developer that would have taken a stab at it. You enjoy the characters and the story and the world, and you're definitely you definitely their target audience for Marvel. You enjoy, and I don't mean that as like a derogatory.
No, I get you.
I think you enjoy these stories, you enjoy the characters, and you'd be happy with another. I think Telltale did like a Guardians of the Galaxy thing. But you'd be happy with another. Great. You'd be happy with another one of those. It doesn't have to be Eidos Montreal, doing this. It could be any developer. It could be, one of the Ubisoft studios doing it or something. I mean, it could have been literally any developer, and it probably would have been something you would have enjoyed just because you like the characters. I just wish, like I said, I feel like Eidos Montreal ever since Deus Ex was shelved has kind of gone to waste. And it's sad for such a legendary developer to just kind of be given this this work that isn't, I would consider, beneath them. And it's I guess that's all I really have to say about that.
I mean, if we look at, because I know you're like the what Eidos Montreal has done. Um,
Not much. Not. I mean, ever
no,
since. You go ahead.
because correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm looking at their Wikipedia page, and I believe if I'm again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like they did 2011 was Deus Ex Revolution, then 2014 was Thief, then 2016 was
Which is
Mankind,
awful. Yeah.
which was then 2016 was Mankind Divided. Uh, 2017 was Deus Ex Breach and Mankind Divided VR Experience. That I don't really know.
That's just more stuff. Breach was the multiplayer mode on Deus Ex Mankind Divided.
Mm.
So that's just that you could consider that DLC
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
shit for that. Yeah.
They did Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which was good. And then Guardians of the Galaxy, which, mind you, I want to go ahead and like kind of just correct you on this. Now, I love Guardians and that kind of thing. And could another developer do Guardians just as well? Maybe better? Sure, of course. It depends on who it is. But we have seen, I like Marvel's Avengers is very disappointing. It's that game came out. I was looking forward to it, but then it became a live service game that doesn't really matter. I'm not a fan of live service games, even though I talk about Destiny, but Destiny has done Bungie has done a very good job of making things matter and not saying they are perfect. God, it's like ever since it came out in 2014, I had a love-hate relationship with Destiny up until Beyond Light, which was the campaign last year. Um, since last year, I'm like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Um, but so not everyone can do like if you gave it to yes if there was another Telltale I would love that because I love that genre, but I like what made Guardians of the
I think
Galaxy.
I understand what you're saying. You know, it not okay. It may be, to be fair, not every developer could have done in your eyes as good of a job with it. I just feel like what a letdown going from, you know. I mean, and they weren't perfect. I mean, you know, the Thief, reboot that they did was
Mm-hmm.
not very well done, obviously. And but I mean, to go from Deus Ex, it's not like Deus Ex was capped off. You know, the thing with what was so disappointing about Deus Ex was that it was meant to be, it was a trilogy essentially,
Mm-hmm.
and now it will likely never be finished, or who knows? I mean, maybe they will finish the trilogy, maybe they will just
I
reboot in another time period, or just do like who knows what the future of the IP is going to look like. But it felt like the job was not finished, and they were kind of kicked into
mm-hmm.
these other things, these other projects, like Tomb Raider and
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy, which really could have been handled by other studios. And they should have at least been able to. I can understand that, switching to a different game, after this trilogy was finished, but it was not finished, and they were kicked over to these other games. And it's kind of sad that their development time and resources were pushed towards this stuff that just they didn't really need. Like I said, I think in some ways was beneath them.
Well, I mean, I think I Deus Ex is one of your favorite video game franchises of all time. It's one of them. It's one of your top five. That I pretty much can attest to if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I agree.
but like, and I understand why that would be upsetting for you. I mean, I have my like I used to love Assassin's Creed. I still play Assassin's Creed, but it's kind of now just like I want to keep up with the story, not because I enjoy it. Not it's not Brotherhood. It's not Assassin's Creed 2. It's not Revelations. It's not Rogue. It's not those. It's not Assassin's Creed 4. If that makes any sense. Um, but I think what happened is that they ended on there was two games and there should be a third because it's a trilogy. Uh, I think Square Enix pushed them to work on Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Uh, I believe it was with Crystal Dynamics, so it was both Eidos Montreal and no, it was just Eidos Montreal. They didn't even have Chris. That was why they needed to finish off Tomb Raider, so they had Eidos Montreal do the third game because that was when Crystal Dynamics was working on Avengers, and Avengers fell apart. Um, like Shadow Tomb Raider is a great game, and then I can talk for days about Guardians, but I think what happened is with Guardians is that game, critically it's fantastic, but that game sold well, but it did not sell, mind you. Square Enix wants sales to be Final Fantasy numbers, which good luck with that if it's not Final Fantasy. But like, even with the decent sales of Guardians, people didn't want to play Guardians day one or whatever because, oh no, it's a Square Enix Marvel game. Avengers is trash. We could be screwed. Even though on this show and at E3, we, like I talked about, they put out a tweet and said it's Eidos Montreal said it's single player, no multiplayer, no DLC, no microtransactions, action adventure, narrative driven, all that kind of stuff, and it was phenomenal. But I think because of the poor showing of that, Square Enix went, well, we don't care about that. And that, now, mind you, you said that, like, well, we may never get to see a sequel to the third game from the trilogy. Haha, Embracer Group owns THQ Nordic, one of my favorite developers, and they make one of my favorite games, Darksiders. I've gotten 2 Darksiders games within the past, like, few years. I thought I would never see a Darksiders 3. I never thought I would have gotten Darksiders Genesis, which is like a.
So I guess you're right. I mean, it is kind of a hopeful thing, and they have this new publisher that owns them has a history of sort of reviving, IPs in a way. So I guess there is a hopeful note at this point that we could see a continuation, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, we even talked about it in last week's episode, where Embracer Group wants sequels, spin-offs, remakes of properties they own, of Tomb Raider, of Deus Ex, and everything else. So I wouldn't, be like.
That's another thing too. I would love to. I mean, it's been so long since I played for the original Deus Ex. I think a remake or a remaster of that would be pretty well received if it was done properly.
I agree. So
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things they could do.
Yeah. So keep your head up, Spectre. Keep your head up. Good things could happen.
Okay, I'll be optimistic.
Yeah, but I think that's it for that. Let's move on. All right. Next topic is that Raven Software becomes the first U.S. video game company to unionize. I know you have a lot to say about this, Spectre. But this comes from IGN. Raven Software QA workers officially vote to unionize. A group of quality assurance employees at Raven Software have officially voted in favor of unionization, with the National Labor Relations Board with a final vote of 19 for and 3 against. The vote count was announced today, which would be May 23rd. Over an official webcast meeting, approximately 28 employees were considered eligible to vote. 24 votes were submitted, and 2 of the votes were challenged and rendered invalid. The remaining group voted to legally form the Game Workers Alliance, making it the first North American video game union at a AAA gaming company. Indie studio Vadio Games unionized late last year. This move legally allows members of the Games Workers Alliance to bargain with Activision Blizzard management over their employment contract, a process we are likely to see unfold in the coming weeks and months. But at the moment, it seems unlikely that the publisher will make this process easy. The company has reportedly been actively discouraging Raven Software employees from voting in favor of the union, both through town halls and official emails. And a Bloomberg report from earlier today indicates that the NLRB is readying an official complaint, suggesting their threats were illegal.
National Labor Relations Board.
Thank you. Is readying an official complaint, suggesting their threats were illegal union busting. Quote, "Our biggest hope is that our union serves as inspiration for the growing movement of workers organizing at video game studios to create better games and build workplaces that reflect our values and empower all of us," said Game Workers Alliance in an official statement. Continuing quote, We look forward to working with management to positively shape our working conditions and the future of Activision Blizzard through a strong union contract. And this, the Raven Q&A's road to unionization has been in the news since December of last year, when Activision laid off at least a dozen Raven software quality assurance contractors amid a studio restructuring. The remaining members of the QA team sequentially held a walkout to protest the sudden layoffs, gaining support of a number of other Activision employees across multiple studios. It lasted for several weeks, demanding full-time positions for members of Raven QA department, including those who were let go. However, it clarified that in late January of this year, a group of QA employees announced it would unionize with the Communication Workers of America, the CWA. This was immediately followed by Activision Blizzard splitting 23 of its QA testers across various departments across the studio, in a move that the CW suggested was an attempt to dilute the group of potential unionizers. It also converted over 1,000 Activision Blizzard contractors to full-time employees, including pay raises and benefits, but clarified that unionizing workers would not be included in this group. 2 days later, Activision Blizzard said it would not voluntarily recognize the union, forcing a vote. The vote took place by mail over the last several weeks, with the final count occurring today, which will be May 23rd. And then I have one more bit to talk about. But so, Spectre, we didn't really talk about this when it was kind of happening, because we had a lot of stuff happening. But what do you think about this?
Yeah, no, in this particular case, I mean, this is a complicated issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, we have, yeah, I guess I should first make the distinction between, you know, unions, private sector unions, and public sector unions. I think those are very different things. So that's, we're wandering into very, you know, very dense political territory with this.
I understand.
So, but to bring this back to just the context of video games, I think, well, first and foremost, you know, having the, you know, whether this, you know, the accusations here are true that they're, you know, essentially union busting, basically, that's obviously never a good look, and it's not really a great idea in general. It's sort of, in a way, it sort of reinforces the idea of, you know, like, okay, this is why we need a union in the first place, you know, because, you know, we're being mistreated, and here they are, they won't even let us organize. You know, that's kind of how. It's sort of, you know, it's like, okay, well, now you're kind of arguing the case for us that we need to have a union here because look at what you're doing, essentially.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, for me, I think the distinction that I make is I think there can be value to, and I certainly would never oppose, you know, private sector unions. I think public sector unions are a little bit more complicated, and you kind of get into the weeds of that to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
But private sector unions, I mean, it's difficult to see like I don't really see anybody really arguing against them. I mean, you can argue their effectiveness and their you know, their ability to actually produce results, but in their very existence itself, I don't think anyone, you know, would necessarily argue against that. You know, so in terms of what they actually seek to accomplish here, I mean, really, I don't know a ton about, you know, the video game QA testing community. I know it tends to be, you know, at least from my understanding of it, it's more of a lower wage type of position. It's basically, it's something I considered actually, like, way back when I was starting, like, you know, my career and trying to kind of see if, like, ways it's meant to be sort of a foot in the door type of position. From my understanding of it, it sounds rather dull, really. It sort of takes video games and kind of makes them into this sort of boring, you know,
no,
type of thing where they have to go through and kind of search for, you know, for bugs and things like that. It just seems really like that would be really a dull thing to do. But I mean, but like I said, it's important work to be done, and you know, it's obviously nowadays more than ever. It seems like most games release in a pretty unfinished state.
Well, I think
so.
Just a quick tidbit about this. I don't think Q&A, being a Q&A tester is like Q&A testing is great. I don't think it's boring at all. Pretty much what you're built to do, what you're supposed to do is like find a way to break the game if you can. And what you're doing is you're going to do stuff that you wouldn't normally do in game, but you're trying to, but even your average gamer may not, like, oh, jump over here. Who knows? Someone else may. You need to test everything. So I see it more of just like you're trying to find problems first. So that way, the developers can then make a solution for said problem. You're creating chaos inside of the game, so that way the developer goes, okay, we need to fix this. Oh, we need to fix that. So I think there's more to it than just being a boring, all right, make sure you press jump, make sure you dodge. This is the dodge button. Make sure these buttons work. Like, I think there's more to it than that. But anyway, continue. I just want to bring that up.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, but in terms of what they're, I mean, like I said, in terms of what they hope to accomplish here. I mean, I wish them the best of luck, and I hope they get out of it what they hope to get out of it. But I mean, I don't know. I guess I mean, I'm curious, kind of what their kind of their key points are, some of their key grievances are, essentially kind of what are they seeking to get out of this. I mean, it seemed like it was passed pretty easily here, in terms of its formation. So I'm curious to see what they're going to get out of it, and if it actually is effective or not. And I guess we'll see. We'll see if this is the shape of things to come, if this is the future for things as they go forward. If more unions are developed as a result of this, it seems like that's kind of what they're implying, what they'd like to see happen.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll kind of have to wait and see.
I'm all about this. I'm actually very happy about this. This is for me. I am a trained actor. I am a trained actor. And a lot of my friends that I still talk to today are in movies, TV shows, internet personalities, so on and so on. And part of being a trained actor and whatever, when you get enough credits depending on the show and whatever, is being part of SAG and AFTRA, which are unions. And that is something I completely support because of the profession and the training and everything that I have. So hearing this in the video game industry, I'm very happy about. I know with how you talked about it, Spectre, this is, you're kind of, there's a little bit more to it than for you. It's not like there's more to it for you. But coming back to this, there has been so much hectic stuff happening in Activision. Like, even in this article, it doesn't even touch the surface of what has been reported since like December, even earlier, like since like December, November, whatever. There has been this like Activision lawsuit been happening for a very long time, and this whole workers gaming alliance is part of that. And even then, to continue from that, I have this from, again, this is also from IGN, but Phil Spencer says that he will recognize Raven Software's union once the acquisition of Activision is complete. So, as stated before in the article, that Activision, not Microsoft, Activision Blizzard, and mind you, this has been happening for a while, but even though that Xbox is acquiring Activision and like it has to go through the process, it isn't official yet. It hasn't been completely finalized because it has to go through the FTC and da-da-da-da-da. But Phil Spencer, who's the head of Xbox, he says that he will recognize Raven Software's union once the acquisition is finished. Continue going into the article. Just days after Q&A workers at Raven Software voted to unionize, Xbox's head Phil Spencer announced that he will recognize the new union after the company acquires Activision Blizzard. According to a report from Kotaku during an internal meeting today, which was May 26th, now this is an internal meeting in Xbox, it sounds like, Spencer said that he would, quote, absolutely support the union. Quote, once the deal closes, we would absolutely support an employees organization that's in place, he told employees during the internal meeting, according to Kotaku. Quote, we think it is a right of employees and something that can be a part of a relationship between a company and people who work at the company. And even previously, before this statement, Microsoft announced that it would not stand in the way of unionization. But now they're officially saying that because now it's a thing. Now it's official. Marks the first time an Microsoft executive has officially announced their support for said union. So, and there's tons of stuff. There's been with Microsoft buying Activision, there's been instigations into Activision figuring out what's going on. The lawsuit, we've talked about it. There's a lot that's been happening with Activision, but Microsoft is acquiring Activision, which we even talked about on our show, which is the biggest acquisition in video game history. So yeah, I mean, Phil Spencer supporting this. I personally I'm good. I'm happy that he does.
Yeah, I mean, I'm rather neutral on the whole thing. I don't. I mean, we'll see what actually comes of it. If it's actually a good thing, or if it's just, I mean, if there's a net positive to it, it actually helps. I mean, because I mean, yeah, I mean, it could go either way. It could just be one of those things where I don't know what the nature of the union composes of it. Are there union dues for it? How what is it actually seeking to accomplish? What are their grievances? Things like that. What actually are they able to negotiate out? How will the the company respond to it? Will it actually be a net positive to the company? Will they start to shift gears and go in a different direction because of this? And I mean, it's who knows? So we'll see. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's move on. Next topic is that PlayStation announces the PC specs for PlayStation Plus and PS1 support. So you want more stuff about PC? I got you more stuff about PC, Spectre.
Yay! Great.
From the PlayStation blog. So they put up a post on the PlayStation blog, which is your guide to the new PlayStation Plus. So it's a whole breakdown. Like it's more than just PC specs. It's really going into about what this new PlayStation Plus is going to do. And all the kind of stuff. But let's get to PC. Where are the specs for that? Let's see. This is a whole long article. There's no one big part. Okay. So the requirements. So these are the specs. This is what you need in order to play use PlayStation Plus or any of the games on PC. So what are the minimum requirements to stream games through PlayStation Plus Premium plan or on PC? Or on PC, I'm sorry, on PC. So it sounds like you can even buy this and then you can just get access to all this on PC. There you go, Spectre. Anyway, you need Windows. So here is the minimum requirements. So Windows 7, SP1, 8.1, or 10. So those versions of Windows. A Core i3 2.0 gigahertz, 300 megabits of available storage, or megabytes. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said megabits. Megabytes of available storage.
Okay.
2 gigs of RAM, and a sound card with USB support, or with a USB port. However, for optimal performance, the following specs are recommended. So this is what you need. This is what's recommended. Windows 7 with SP1, 8.1 or 10, 3.5 gigahertz Intel Core i3 or 3.8 gigahertz AMD A10 or faster, 300 megabytes or more of available storage, 2 gigabytes or more of RAM, sound card, USB port. It looks like a DualShock 4 will be compatible with games streamed through PlayStation Plus catalog on PC. And I might dig a little bit more into this article, but for PC-wise, what do you think?
For me, it's largely irrelevant for me. I buy games. I think a lot of people do a la carte. I buy games one at a time. I don't feel the need to be. Like I said, it's an ongoing issue with me, sort of like you and microtransactions. This is my version of microtransactions. I don't like subscription fees in general. I think outside of some contexts, like maybe an MMO is the exception, and even then I'm not a big fan of it either there. I don't like the idea of subscription fees and paying monthly fees for things and maybe possibly getting value out of it, but usually probably not. So for me, this is largely irrelevant. I mean, and I think this is I mean, this is even less useful, I think, I could see the argument for a thing like Plus or Game Pass if you're on a console, but on a PC, it just kind of baffles me. And it's the same thing coming from Microsoft, too. Like, Microsoft is really I noticed the advertising in the last year or so
Mm-hmm.
really pushing Game Pass on PC and advertising that, oh, you can get Game Pass and it also works on PC as well, and you'll get access to the same library of games, blah blah blah, yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this big push for it. I just do not understand it to save my life. I mean, on PC you have so many options. There's literally thousands upon thousands of games you can play for free, and that's not, it doesn't even require pirating or anything crazy like that. You can just games are just, there's a lot of games available for free or free to play games you can play, and you can get most games on sale dirt cheap, and for the price that you're paying for just a couple months of this, you can buy a fair library. You can get a fair library of games going. And I don't see the value of this. I mean, unless you're looking to just try a whole bunch of games, like it was sort of like a rental thing, all at once in a very short period of time, then maybe like subscribe to it for a short period of time. But I just don't see like why you would have on PC of all things, why you would have a subscription service that you would renew annually for a library of games, all of which you could probably just get much cheaper buying a la carte at a sale or whatever. I mean, I don't see the value of this, especially on PC. Like on console, I can kind of understand it to some degree because you're more limited on a console, but on PC especially, there's an avalanche of like stuff for you to play and to do. There's no shortage of games. I mean, like why would you pay for a subscription service on top of that? I just don't understand it. That's the whole point. That's actually one of the main, arguments for PC is that, hey, come over to PC. You don't have to pay for online. You don't have to pay a subscription fee. That's usually one of the key arguments people make for PC. And it's my argument myself that I've made plenty of times too. It's great that I don't have to. I'm not forced. My internet isn't held hostage from me until I pay, Microsoft or Sony or Nintendo to use my internet, and to play multiplayer games. That's usually one of the key advantages of PC. But yeah, it's baffling to me why anybody would go for this unless you're just looking to try a whole bunch of games, in a very short period of time or something. I don't know.
I'm curious, is that that kind of like perspective or like you're thinking on that? Is that I'm not in the PC community because I'm a console guy. Like I love my PlayStation and Xbox and Switch and my computer I use for work. Is that a similar thinking, or is that kind of the overall thinking of the PC community is that I don't need a subscription service. I have Steam or Epic Game Store or whatever. I have my games, that kind of thing. I don't need a subscription service.
I mean, it's hard to make generalizations like that without like having some sort of opinion poll or whatever. But I would say that that's a fairly popular. I'm not the only person to say this.
That's what I mean. Like, is this? That's what I meant. Is like
idea. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what. Probably the best indicator of it would be like what kind of numbers are they pushing with like Game Pass, for example. Game Pass exists on PC right now. It's existed on PC for a while. I don't think we really have access to that. Of the number of what I would like to know, what we'd have to know essentially would be what percentage of people are getting Game Pass and they're only playing on PC, as opposed to they have a console as well too. So I'd like to see those numbers. I'm sure Microsoft has those numbers, but we don't have them publicly available. So I would say it's a fairly popular consensus. I think people on PC in general are adverse to the idea of a subscription fee outside of, like I said, the obvious exception being MMOs, which have had subscription fees for a long time, but a lot of those have gone free to play. Yeah, I think it's a pretty popular. Yeah, I would say it's a fairly popular opinion to go on. But like I said, I don't have opinion polls in front of me, but I would say the average PC gamer, if a lot of them would be they buy it more a la carte. They buy it like in a sale, or they get a game from Epic or whatever, for free or whatever. Like that's what they would do. They probably look at those options before they would go to a subscription service or a pass. It's the idea of just paying this extra fee is just seems kind of baffling, I think, to a lot of people.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've talked about my opinion on subscription services before. I have my gripes, but yet I am for and against it all at the same time. I have my personal gripes with them and whatever. With this new Plus, again, we've talked about it a lot. But this article from the blog tells you a lot of stuff. A few other things just to tell you is that will DLC add-ons with downloaded games work with will DLC and add-ons work with downloaded games from the Plus catalog? Yes, you can purchase DLC and add-on content for games downloaded through Plus. If your membership expires, the content leaves the service, and you'll also lose access to DLC. Once you resubscribe to the service, they become available to you to your purchase. So, like, pretty much, if you don't have Plus, you don't have access to it. If you do, once you bought it, you own it. But DLC and add-on content will not be supported when streaming a title. Hence, all the DLC for PS3 games you don't get, which is kind of dumb.
That's kind of lame. Yeah.
It's kind of dumb. So there's
plus the element of streaming on this too. I mean, streaming is just not desirable. I mean, it's come a long way. I've done streaming before as well too of games. Like I just to test out and see how it did. It seemed like it worked okay, but it's just I don't really see. I mean, unless you just have like a really like you're just running it on like a toaster essentially, like you don't have like your graphics card is just way out of date. You're rocking some like 2009 computer or something like that, and you've never upgraded ever. Then maybe I could see the advantage of streaming games, but I think anyone else would rather just download the game, and play it, and preferably with mods, and have a good time, and not have to worry about, if the thing's just going to cut out on me because my internet went down or whatever.
Yeah. And again, we talked about that. There'll be trophies for past retro games like PS1, PSP, PS2, not everyone, but that is how it is. Okay. Anything else, Spectre?
No, that's about it.
Great. Let's move on. So here's a little fun topic to talk about. I'd like to hear your opinion on this. Next topic is, of the top 10 games being played currently, are games that came out a few years ago. I have the article from IGN, but I also have the tweet coming from Matt Piscatella. I'll start from the tweet. It says, here are the top 10 most played games of Q1 in 2022 in the US, ranked by year of initial release. The source is the NPD Group's Player Pulse. Half of the top 10 weren't launched this decade. Elden Ring ranked 20th. Ahead of it were games like Rocket League, World of Warcraft, and Skyrim. So, going from top to bottom. So, Minecraft came out in 2009. Grand Theft Auto 5 came out in 2013. Sims 4, 2014. Fortnite, 2017. Among Us, 2018. Animal Crossing New Horizons, 2020. Call of Duty Warzone 2020, Madden NFL 2022, Call of Duty Vanguard 2021, and NBA 2K 22 in 2021. This was on IGN. So the article states, despite a fulfilling start of the year for the game industry, which the start of this year was holy crap, none of the top played games during 2022's Q1 were released this year. And then I went through the tweet, which lists them all off. Pescatella pointed out that half of the games that made this list were launched before the 2020s, most notably Elden Ring, which has been getting phenomenal rankings, like, reviews and everything across the board. Piscatella credited the game's surprisingly low placement to the success of evergreen and live service games, calling them, quote, gravity wells for player attention, time, and spending. Q1 is typically defined as the period from January to the end of March, so Elden Ring would have only been released for 1 month. Pescatella expanded on this thread by stating that more AAA games should seek the help of services like Game Pass and the new PlayStation Plus, saying he believes that these plans can help, quote, get games funded, released, and help them break through the barriers of the big evergreen titles. So that is also an interesting thing to talk about. So let's break this down. First, let's talk about the list itself. What do you think about that? Like, the games that like half of these games came from the before the 2010s. Like Minecraft is '09, and then the rest are from the 2010s. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's some some very old titles in there. Like, I mean, World of Warcraft is technically 2004. I mean, there's some very old titles in there, but I mean, none of that's really terribly surprising. I mean, these are nearly every game you mentioned is a multiplayer title, or I mean, Minecraft is a multiplayer title, but it's also very much a sandbox game, kind of like The Sims, where you can sort of make your own fun, and there really is room to you can just it's sort of a blank canvas for you
Mm-hmm.
to just explore your creativity with, and to kind of do your own thing with. It's a sandbox. You can just kind of play with it and kind of make
Yeah.
your own fun with it, essentially. So I mean, I guess none of those are really like shocking or anything in there. I mean, it all kind of makes sense to me. Multiplayer. I mean, World of Warcraft in particular. I mean, I still play World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft is not part of the top 10. It's
Oh,
not.
wasn't part of the top 10. Okay,
No.
that makes sense. It probably was moved out of the top 10 not all that long ago, just because there's been a drop in subscribers. But so what are some of the other top 10 titles on there again?
So it's Minecraft, Grand Theft Auto 5, Sims 4, Fortnite, Among Us, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Call of Duty Warzone, Madden NFL 22, Call of Duty Vanguard, and NBA 2K22. So you have two sports games, Call of Duty twice, because you have the Warzone, which is the Battle Royale, plus Vanguard, which is your normal multiplayer. Animal Crossing, New Horizons, and Sims 4 kind of fit into the whole you can just do whatever you want and, you know, have your own fun. But like Animal Crossing is it's a fantastic game. And I played it, and it like came out when the pandemic first started, and it is such a relaxing, calming game. Like I'd never played a game where it's like so weirdly peaceful because you're just doing tasks and that's it. Um, Mind you, for me, like I played it, I understand why people like it, just not my cup of tea. It's a fantastic game, but it didn't catch me like other games have. Um,
Yeah, that one, and you mentioned Sims on there
Sims
as well. So
4. Mm-hmm.
I was more of a fan of the original Sims. I mean, it just was a very kind of the same idea as Animal
Yeah.
Crossing. I played other Animal Crossing games too. I didn't really play the newest one as much, but I mean, yeah, there's something to be said about games that are just very nice and just casual to relax to. And the rest of the games in that list were, of course, active multiplayer
Yep. You
games.
have two sports games. You have
So
two Call of Duties. Among Us was pretty much gained momentum because of the pandemic. Like everyone was playing it. That was a way that people were connecting and stuff. It's just playing Werewolf, but like Among Us is just everywhere now. This tiny little indie game is now huge. Um, Fortnite is the new Call of Duty. That is the standard. This is the norm. There are more people playing Fortnite than any other video game. It's making more money than I think Call of Duty wishes that it could make right now. Like Call of Duty's making money, but it's not making Fortnite money. Um, GTA 5 has been around. It's almost a 10-year-old game and people are still playing that. And that's because of GTA Online. It's not the campaign. The campaign's done. People have beaten it multiple times. People don't care about that. It's about the multiplayer part that somehow, some way, people are playing it. I'm not a fan of the multiplayer because people love grieving in there. Meaning, the example that I would use is that if you bought a new car using because there's microtransaction, you use real life money to buy credits, and then you use the credit to buy cars or houses or whatever. But if you bought a new car with real life money, now mind you, there you can just get it back. But like people would take a rocket launcher, or like pretty much they would see you and be like, "I'm just gonna make your day a living hell," and just blow up stuff you have, or just not allow you to play because there were like, I don't know if that's still happening now, but I have heard horror stories of grieving in GTA 5.
griefing,
Griefing?
yeah, not grieving. Griefing is the term.
Griefing, my bad, I apologize. Um So yeah, and then let's get back to this point. So part two is Piscatella in there's a Twitter thread. You can read the Twitter thread, but I don't want I want to point this part in the article from IGN. Piscatella says that he credited the game's surprisingly low placement of success, which he's talking about Elden Ring. The reason why Elden Ring did not place 20th is because of these games here are gravity wells for player attention and time and spending. Every single one of them has microtransactions and has either multiplayer or like NBA. There's going to be an NBA 23. There's going to be another Call of Duty. We've already seen a teaser trailer for Modern Warfare 2. Like, there's going to be another Madden. Among Us is just going to continue. Fortnite's just going to continue. Like, all of these are live service games. He expanded on this thread by stating that more AAA games should seek the help of Game Pass and the new Plus, saying that through Plus and Game Pass, games can get funded, released, and help them break through the barriers of evergreen titles. Meaning, paying the $10 per month or whatever for Game Pass and Plus, the 18 for premium, whatever it would be. That allows people to be like, oh, why are people talking about The Last of Us Part 2? Maybe I'll start playing that. Why are people talking about Halo Infinite? Oh, I'll go ahead and jump into this for a little bit. The whole ADD, the shiny kind of mentality of like, let me jump into this game really quick, will be able to break through. This is his thinking. It will be able to break through the games like Destiny, like Fortnite, like NBA, like Call of Duty, like all of the live service games, where those games, it becomes a job. These are games they want you to stay there, spend your money, and continue playing. That's why Fortnite continues getting more content and story and all of the tie-ins. So because of that way, you're going to spend more
I
money.
suppose that's an interesting kind of like argument to make. Is it's almost something we do as like a main topic sometime. Is games like are games like this, these kind of evergreen titles, are they more beneficial for the consumer or the publisher, developer, or is it kind of a mutually beneficial thing? Like who's kind of winning in this scenario? Exactly. Because obviously for the developers, it's way easier to make like a skin for your character on Fortnite than it is to develop a whole new IP or create even a whole new game of an existing IP. Yeah. It's a lot cheaper just to come up with a skin for your gun or whatever, or have you buy credits for to get money in like GTA, for example, than it is to come up with a new GTA game. So I mean, but I mean, obviously the consumer gets something out of this too. Otherwise, logically they wouldn't be supporting this for forever. You know what I mean? Like it's so I guess it's an interesting case. Like who's kind of benefiting the most out of this.
I know. I honestly, I think we need to delve into this more as a PlayStation conversation, but that is fascinating, and it doesn't surprise me, but I am like, where maybe like ever since live service games have become a thing, like I there was a time where I didn't like them, and mind you, I played Destiny and stuff, but like I still prefer my Horizons and God of War and Lego Star Wars and Telltales and like all the Guardians, like the Marvel games, all these like first person single player narrative driven games where you play it for like 10, 20, 30 hours depending on the game, and then you're done with it. These pretty much like having a really good steak dinner, 5-course like steak dinner kind of things. That's the kind of games that I still love and adore and support over, these live service games. I mean, again, like I played Destiny, I've thrown money into Destiny. But that is such a game where I don't have to think. My brain's turned off outside of when story parts are happening, but that's like 5 minutes. That's like maybe an hour tops out of however long I'm playing. If it's not the campaign, if it's seasonal content, you get my drift.
Yeah.
All right,
Let's move on.
yeah, let's move on. Yep. You took the words right out of my mouth, Spectre. I was about to move on, but you did it. Yeah, you. All right, next topic. Really quickly, this is continuing about so Sony had an investor call or an investors meeting and stuff, and we're going to mention a few things from this investor call meeting, whatever. One of them is that Sony expects to make $300 million off of PC games this year. So Sony is telling its investors to prepare for a big PC gaming windfall in the coming year. In a business segment briefing for shareholders today, one slide showed off Sony's net sales from PC games thus far, highlighting how such titles like Horizon Zero Dawn, Days Gone, and God of War 2018 has brought in $80 million in the last fiscal year, which ended March 31st of 2022. But the gaming giant expects more to come, and is telling them to expect a whopping $300 million in net sales on PC in the coming fiscal year ending March 31st of 2023. That is a massive jump, especially for gaming hardware manufacturer that has only just in recent years dipped its toe into the PC gaming space with real seriousness. What's more, it's not fully clear where that chunk of change is coming from. At the moment, Sony's only announced plan for PC is Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection, which still to this doesn't have a release date. But what's most likely happening is that Sony has high expectations of Bungie with its acquisition of the Destiny 2 maker expected to close by the end of this year. With Bungie being privately held, we don't have a good idea of what it brings in, though analyst Michael Pachter has speculated it's around $200 million in revenue a year across all sources, including console, merchandise, and more. It's likely Sony's PC ambitions extend beyond Bungie. A slide later in the presentation shows that Sony expects approximately 15 to 20% of its releases in the coming year to be on PC, with that percentage increasing to closer of 30 by the end of 2025. Plus, his recent moves like its introduction of the PlayStation PC brand and seemingly interest from many PlayStation's internal studios in bringing their games to PC. So far, that interest is working well out for PC players, with God of War running reasonably well on PC. So what do you think of this? That Sony is like hunting for $300 million for PC sales. Do you think it's possible?
I mean, it's definitely. I mean, it's. I think reading in between the lines there. I think and not even reading between the lines, they sort of mentioned that. I mean, not only is the Bungie deal. I mean, even if you take the Bungie deal out of it, they're clearly this signals that they're going to be ramping up their PC releases, and they're going to be pushing more and more onto PC, as they should. I mean, they are clearly profiting from this. I mean, it's a great arrangement for them, and it's something that's great for the consumer as well too. Obviously, I mean, it's really, I think it's been instrumental in changing my choice of platform. Really, I mean, it's a lot easier for me to be a PC player with major games from that I still franchises I still care about, like God of War, for example, and others from Sony that are essentially going to be on PC as well too. I'll have the same access to them that any Sony console owner would have. So yeah, I mean, it's great for consumers. It's obviously good for Sony. It's another big revenue stream for them, and I think it's really the only other thing I would encourage them to do at this point is just to push for more stuff on PC. We were talking about before, Ghost of Tsushima, that should be on PC. I think that'd be a huge hit. It would do really, really well. I like to see some of the smaller titles make their way over as well too, but I mean, Ghost is an obvious choice. As much as I don't care for it, I'm sure Last of Us would be pretty popular too. And really the crown jewel of them all, of course, the one that's I know would have at least a huge which I think would actually be really well timed, considering that the success and popularity of Elden Ring would be to make a remastered version of Bloodborne and to bring that over to PC. That's a very long-awaited game to be ported over, and it's something I've seen a lot of people clamoring for. For myself, I'm not really like I said, I'm not a Souls player myself, but I know a lot of people would jump at the opportunity.
Oh yeah.
To play that on PC, like a remastered version of that. So yeah, I think they should just keep pushing as much as possible. I mean, really, when you think about it, there's no downside. I mean, people like me that are going to migrate over to PC and, and not purchase a PlayStation, that's not really that big of a deal for Sony at this point. And they're not really interested necessarily in the hardware sales. They're interested in the game sales. They can get access to my money on PC just as easily as they could on Sony, on a Sony system. So, why not, make the move over? I mean, you might have a couple people that are like, okay, well, why would I bother, with a PlayStation now? But I mean, as long as they're buying the games, it doesn't really matter necessarily where they're buying them. I mean, I guess you can make the argument that if, like, for example, like when I was more so immersed in the PlayStation ecosystem, I did more purchases in the PlayStation store. So, I mean, it's not 100% pure, there's not like no downside to it whatsoever, but the downside to it is so minuscule that it's sort of like irrelevant, essentially. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally see it happening. And with
because I mean, really, how many players are you going to push towards? How many players are in the position to do what I did, where I just migrated over to PC, and for me, of course, I had I was already a pre-existing PC player. I've been gaming on PC for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a very easy switch for me to finally say, hey, I'm done with consoles. I'm going to be pure PC. It was a very easy switch for me. I mean, how many people realistically are going to make that permanent switch and not have a PlayStation and just exclusively focus on PC? Not much. It's a very small number of people.
Yeah. I mean, my thinking of PlayStation games coming to PC has lightened. And I've talked about this on the show with you multiple times. But no, I can totally see it. And then, of course, like, the acquisition of Bungie is... Like, they have said that the acquisition of Bungie is an important piece of what they want, what PlayStation wants to do going forward. And I can see that they want PlayStation just as synonymous with multiplayer as Xbox is. Like, Xbox forever, like, during the PS3, it would be like, you want a PS3 if you want single-player games. You're going to get amazing single-player games, like, all the remasters, and you got Infamous and Uncharted, but if you want multiplayer was, you wanted to go to the 360. So PlayStation is like, well, our single-player games are nominated for Game of the Year every year for the past, like, 4 to 5 years now. We want to be synonymous with the multiplayer market. That's why, like, PlayStation has they have a hand in Fortnite with Epic Games, and so on and so on. They want to be just as synonymous with multiplayer as Xbox is. So yeah, I can totally see that, and I guess we'll see where it goes from there. Anything else?
No, I think I mean, like I said, for me, it's a great thing. I like to see that, there's more investment happening, and hopefully we see some of these, like, other big heavy hitters. Like I said, I'd love to see Ghost of Tsushima come over. Even I'm ready to play Medieval again as well too. I could play that game 1,000 times. I love that game. So I like this. It'd be a good excuse for me to play that again if it made its way over.
I agree. But let's move on. Next topic is that Sony announces a Horizon, God of War, and Gran Turismo series for multiple different platforms. Three major PlayStation franchises are getting TV adaptations, with Horizon going to Netflix, God of War going to Amazon, and a Gran Turismo show that is currently unannounced for a platformer network. Revealed in that same investor briefing that we are talking about, and confirmed by an industry insider, including David Gibson on Twitter, Sony President Jim Ryan revealed during a Q&A that the company was expanding its entertainment adaptations even further. The long-rumored God of War series and other shows will join PlayStation exclusives, including The Last of Us, Uncharted, and The Ghost of Tsushima, in being adapted into other media. Though there's no inclination as to when these series will be released. And then the tweet from David Gibson says, Sony IR, three positives in the presentation. One, Horizon to Netflix, God of War to Amazon, and Gran Turismo in TV development. Two live service games are coming in fiscal year 3 of 2023, which are not Destiny. And 3, PC game revenues will surge 3.8 times in fiscal year 3 of 2023. It's broken down, but that's what the tweet says. So of course you have that. Okay. And then it kind of talks about, like, there's a League of Legends series and a Castlevania anime on Netflix. HBO is getting Last of Us. Twisted Metal is going to Peacock, which we talked about on our last episode. So on and so on. So what do you think of so now we have Horizon, God of War, Gran Turismo, Twisted Metal, and Last of Us currently being made as other properties. And then of course you have the Uncharted movie, which is now out in Blu-ray. Years ago in 2016 you had Ratchet and Clank, which that movie's a wreck. The game is phenomenal, that movie is trash. But Uncharted that came out this year was fun. I actually very much enjoyed that movie. But what do you think of these adaptations being turned into TV shows? Because I know you're like, movies are terrible, even though I fought with you on Sonic. But anyway, regardless, what do you think of, like, are you still in the same boat of, like, it doesn't matter if it's a TV show or movie, it's still a video game, get this out of my face? Or do you think because it's a TV show it may have the breathing room to add more lore or whatever?
No, I just think it doesn't matter if it's a TV show or not. It's still is going to suffer from the same problems. Like I said, we've been doing this for literally for decades now. Video game adaptations, movie adaptations of video games, just they never ever work. Very very rarely do they produce anything of even remote quality, and even then it's usually it's like a guilty pleasure at best. Like you'll get like a Warcraft or a Mortal Kombat movie or things like that, where it's I mean, it's not really good, but it's entertaining, and you can watch it without being embarrassed and cringed while you're watching it. So I don't think they work in general. I think video games are and I say it's for the same reason I've been pretty consistent on this. Video games are an interactive medium, and you lose something fundamental when you take them away from that and you move it to a non-interactive medium, like whether that's in a book or a TV show. And it's not that they can't work. Like I just mentioned earlier, I read I was talking about this. We were talking about this earlier. I read Warcraft books and things like this. So I read books based on video game worlds, things like that, and they can be pretty entertaining as sort of a side story or kind of like a fill in the gaps type of thing. So sometimes they can work sort of. Usually more so as like a book. I think they have more success with, or even like a comic maybe. I'm not really a big comic person, but I've heard some examples of them being pretty decent for video games. So I don't think in general they really work. It's just something's lost in the process. Especially if you're trying to just retell the same story from the video game in the film, it just usually doesn't work. It doesn't have the same impact as the game itself. I'd rather just play the game. and just, go ahead.
No, like again, with you going, if you're retelling the game that I played, like that's why I'm hesitant with the HBO Max show of The Last of Us, because it is just we're doing the first game. The first season is the first game.
Yeah, and if you really like the game, just play the game. Why watch a you if anything you can, if you really want to just watch the game, you're better off just going on YouTube and watching a Let's Play.
Yeah, so
like that's watching the game.
So I agree with you where it's like we're just going to redo the game in movie or TV show form. That I do agree with. But examples that I have, we discussed about, and we should definitely probably turn this into a PlayStation conversation. But anyway, movies like Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic the Hedgehog 2, like ever since they redid Ugly Sonic and turned them into current Sonic, which is awesome. Sonic 1 is great. Sonic 2 is freaking amazing. Uncharted is really fun. Like there have been more video game movies. Did you watch? I know you specifically, Spectre, don't have Netflix, but like, does like one of your friends or your wife or whoever do they have Netflix? Did you take the time to watch the Castlevania anime? Because I know you love Castlevania.
I did. Well, I watched the first season of it, and it was okay. I mean, it wasn't terrible. I didn't find it like terribly offensive. It does get into really bad territory actually later on, where it has some very questionable it's some very questionable ideas of where they kind of move the plot for that, and some I guess kind of what's the word? Sort of there's some character betrayals of some degree that just don't really. There's some characterization of some characters that doesn't really line up with their portrayal in the games. So I mean, yeah, but even then, even the first season, which you could probably say was the best for like the Castlevania animated show, for example, even that wasn't really all that good. I'd rather just play the game. I think you have a much better experience playing the game. The Castlevania games are amazing. They're awesome. They're not really. I mean, especially for a game like Castlevania, it's not really known for its storytelling.
Yeah, it's gameplay.
It's gameplay, yeah. It's just I don't know. I don't think these things ever really work. I can't really point to any examples of like this is amazing. This is very high quality. I think I mean some of the books I like I said I've enjoyed, like some like Warcraft books, for example. I really enjoyed. I didn't think they were like they're not Shakespeare, but I mean they're still entertaining for what they were. And I just can't point to any example of like this is a video game movie that I think is like amazing, incredible, 10 out of 10, a masterpiece, or a video game. Yeah, even like a book or a comic book or whatever. I've never come across something like that in my life, and I've seen dozens of them at this point. From game franchises I really enjoy to other franchises that I don't particularly enjoy. And I've never encountered one that's changed my opinion on it, and I don't think I really ever will.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just given them I've given them plenty of chances, and it just it just doesn't ever get better. These just never work. Now, I mean, some of them can be successful. Like every once in a while, like I said, you'll get a Mortal Kombat the movie, or you'll get a Sonic like that's pretty in vogue right now. So you'll get some successes, but even then, I don't think anyone would call these things high art. I mean, these are usually. I mean, they're probably. It's just a case of them being better than was expected, and you go into them with very low expectations, and sometimes you're surprised. But I never walked out of a video game movie in my life and said, "Wow, that was a masterpiece. I loved every second of it." It just never happened.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that I am looking forward to this Horizon show on Netflix, and we'll see how this God of War show. I'm not a fan of Amazon, but I want to watch that God of War show. Ooh, boy.
And I mean, we were just talking about how it can just go so horribly wrong as well too.
That too.
I mean, last
week
we were talking about.
Look at Halo.
Yeah, that's what I was bringing up. Yeah, the Halo show. I mean, it just looks terrible.
That's not
Halo. And I mean, not all of it looks terrible. I mean, the armor and some of the CGI isn't terrible.
It looks great, but Ooh,
It
the narrative
looks
and
all right, but it's just the narrative and the choices they made
oh
for it
boy, oh
are
boy, oh
just
boy, oh boy, oh
baffling.
boy, oh boy, oh boy,
And
oh
and
boy, oh boy.
and like I said, it just further reinforces my opinion. Here they are with a clearly they have a budget. Clearly they have all the time in the world because it's a TV series. It's not just a movie,
Yeah.
and they completely just take a dump on the whole thing, and it's embarrassing. It's just I don't. It just doesn't work. Play the games and enjoy the games and be happy with that. If you really just want to watch, you can watch any game that you can think of right now. You don't have to
Yeah.
wait for a movie or a series. Just go and watch a let's play of that game, and you can just there you go. You're basically watching the movie version of the game. I wouldn't recommend that because unless you just never had any intention of playing that game, because you're just not going to get the same experience as the person that's of course actually playing it. There's an interactivity element of it
Mm-hmm.
with a game that is lost when you just watch something. But if you're just looking just to casually watch a game and you just never wanted to play it in the first place, then just go on YouTube and just look up a let's play or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Just man, even the creator of it was either the creator or game director of Halo was like, "That's not the Halo I made." But anyway, let's move on. Next topic is that Sony expects to be done with PS4 games by 2025. Continuing with the investor call, the investor meeting, whatever. Sony at the latest Sony investor presentation, Sony revealed that its plans to be done with PS4 games by 2025. Additionally, the company also explored the growth they've had in the PC and mobile realms and used numbers to examine the past and predict the future releases. In the 2019 fiscal year, almost all of Sony's releases were on PS4. But the estimated spread of 2022's fiscal year accounts for Sony's recent success of PC and includes their foray into mobile as well. For 2025, there is nary a mention of the PS4. Instead, half the graph broadcast releases for the PS5. Sony expects that PC should account for around 30% mobile for 20 for the rest of that fiscal year's releases. So half of it is PS5, and then it's 30% PC, 20% mobile, all that kind of stuff. Mini current games like Elden Ring and Horizon Forbidden West can be found on both PS4 and PS5, but according to Sony's projections, that will be a thing of the past within the next 3 years. So yeah, we've talked about all this stuff. So, what do you think about them pretty much going, we're done? Once it's 3 years from now, we're done.
I think that's pretty reasonable. I mean, one thing to Sony's credit I'll give them is that they have a history of supporting systems for a very long period of time. I mean, I remember that, look back at like PlayStation 2, for example. PlayStation 2 was released in 2000 and it was supported, really, in terms with games, at least until,
09,
well after
2010?
2009 2010, yeah, which was well into the life cycle
Oh,
of PlayStation
yeah.
3. It's not like they got like a ton of titles at that time, but there were still
No.
new games coming out. There was still support for it to some degree, and it's not like you really lacked a library for that system. I mean, they supported it very well. Same with PlayStation 3. Supported it very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
Well past its kind of its retirement date. And it looks like they're doing the same thing with PlayStation 4. And I think they have a strong incentive to do that with PlayStation 4 because it's sold so well, especially compared to like PS3.
Yeah.
So I think they have a strong incentive to keep supporting it. And it seems, I mean, 2025, I think is what you said. That seems
Yeah,
like if they,
2025 is like, we're done. No more.
yeah, I mean, I could see them being done like in 2024 at the latest. 2025 seems like a long ways away still. I mean, even if they said like we're going to be done after the end of 2023, I've been like, okay, that makes sense. That's still like a good 10 plus years or so. But I mean, when all is said and done, they'll be basically like looking at like about 12 plus years of supports, which
Mm-hmm.
is very, very good. I mean, that's pretty incredible for a system. Whereas, I mean, there's pros and cons. I mean, they tend to support their systems well past their data obsolescence, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I think their primary competitor with with like Microsoft is much better when it comes to the backwards compatibility side of things.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's trade offs. Microsoft tends to just drop an Xbox the moment the new one is on the shelves. It's like, okay, the other ones. I mean, who talks about Xbox One anymore? It's like old news now. It's all about the Series X and Series S. And but at the same time, they do have pretty ample support for backwards compatibility, which you can't really say the same about Sony, although they're
you have
roundabout
the new Plus, but like you don't have emulation. You don't have true emulation where you have Game Pass, which you still have access to. I could put in KOTOR 1 or 2, which I own, in that bookcase off camera. Or I can play it on Game Pass. No matter what, I can play the one in my bookcase or the one on Game Pass, whichever one, it doesn't matter. Like, I believe original Xbox is there. But regardless, I could play Witcher 2. I know they have 360 games. I could take Witcher 2 and play it on Game Pass. Or whatever. So, and that is the one thing I would definitely say, like, PlayStation, they're trying to play both by going, oh, here's Plus Premium, you get your retro games, but pay us $120 but you can't put in a PS1 disc into a PS5, can't put in a PS2, can't put in a PS3. You can put in a PS4. It is backwards compatible to a PS4, so thank God for that. But, them cutting off at 2025, that makes sense. I mean, Horizon Forbidden West plays better, operates better on the PS5 than on the PS4. Not saying it doesn't operate well on a PS4, but it is like that game plus God of War Ragnarok and especially Gran Turismo 7, even with all of its problems, was built for the PS5 in mind. So, like we even talked about Gotham Knights is PS5 and Series X only. And we're going to start getting to a time where, like, too bad. I'm like, sorry guys, we got to move into the next generation. All of that kind of stuff. I think they're waiting until 2025 because people don't have systems yet. Now the good thing is that there are much more restocks happening, so people are getting systems more available to them. But the demand is still ridiculously high. So no, I'm fine with this. Yeah, 2025, great. That's 3 years from now. You've had like 5 years of this system. Yeah, we should be good. Next topic, very quickly, is that the PSVR 2 will have more than 20 major games at launch. Continuing from the investor briefing, it is revealed in Sony's latest investor briefing there'll be, quote, 20 plus first-party and third-party titles confirmed for the PSVR 2 at launch. Interestingly, the slide uses Horizon Call of the Mountain, the VR game set in the world of Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West, as its image to go alongside the launch game reveal. While Sony hasn't confirmed that Call of the Mountain will be a launch title explicitly, the investor briefing certainly makes it appear to be, which I hope it would be. That's me saying that. Other titles confirmed for the PSVR 2 include the light RPG Samurai Slaughterhouse, Samurai Punk-esque lo-fi, fast-paced racer shooter runner, narrative adventure, Firmament, and hit depiction game Among Us. So Among Us will also be in VR, I guess. Some developers are also confirmed to be working on the PSVR 2 games, but have yet to announce what games they would be, including Apex, Constructs, Fast Travel Games, Firewall, 0 Hours First Contact Entertainment, Ghostbusters VRs, and Dreams, and Gang Beasts Coat Sync software. 20 plus games to launch with the PSVR 2. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound too bad. Like I said, we really need to know a lot more first about what the capabilities of it. So I mean, it's very early to tell our thoughts on that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm a supporter of VR, and I mean, I hope it's better this time around. Like I said, I definitely have my complaints of the first attempt at it, but I understand it's Rome wasn't built in a day. I mean, it takes there has to be some degree of some build up to a better device.
Yeah, and I'm glad that PlayStation's sticking with this, unlike the Vita. Should have stayed with the Vita PlayStation.
Yeah, that was just shoved out to die. It's they're showing a lot more commitment this time.
So want a Vita 2, but we're never gonna get it. Anyway.
You don't need a Vita 2. You can just get a Steam Deck. You got one reserved too. Just get a Steam Deck. That's your Vita 2.
But I want a PlayStation one though. I want PlayStation though. Damn it. You're not wrong though, but I want PlayStation. Let's move on. Next topic is that PlayStation Studios plan to invest big into new IP. Continuing with the investor briefing. I think this is the last one I have of the briefing. Okay, here we go. PlayStation Studios is preparing to invest big into new IP. By the end of 2025 fiscal year, 50% of Sony's investment into its PlayStation Studios will go towards the creation of brand new IPs. Revealed in the latest investor briefing, Sony said that investing into new IP is part of its overall growth plans and is looking to increase this area significantly over the next few years. While it was previously mostly focused on developing existing IPs, pointing to a 2019 figure that saw 77% investment of its current franchises and only 23% into new ones, Sony has been slowly shifting towards a more even split. By the end of 2022 fiscal year, Sony will be investing 66% into existing IPs, 34% into new IP, and by the end of 2025 financial year, it wants the number to be exactly 50-50. Yeah, okay. So yeah, that's what we have.
Well, I mean, nice. I mean, it's I think I kind of speak for a lot of people. I say it's nice to see. It is nice to see sequels to popular franchises that we enjoy, but at the same time, I think we're always looking for something new. And I was talking about that a little bit to some degree last week with the Silent Hill thing. It's like, yeah, I mean, human beings are very. I think everybody, even if they claim not to be, we're very nostalgic creatures. We like the idea of this unobtainable idea of revisiting and reliving the past, and we like that a lot. It's a very tempting lure, but at the same time, there's also a lot of excitement around something new. The prospect of seeing something you haven't seen before, or maybe something that's you've kind of seen before, but in a different light or a different point from a different point of view. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's strange. We kind of have these conflicting things. We like seeing things that remind us of things that we're familiar with. We like the sameness, but at the same time, we're also creatures that like novelty. We like some things that are new. So yeah. A 50-50 ratio actually sounds pretty logical to me from that perspective of human psychology. That, we don't want to neglect our past IPs that have done well for us, but we don't want to just be a sequel factor. Exactly, kind of like what Xbox was, what Microsoft was in the 360 going into Xbox One generation, where there wasn't a lot of new IP. It was just here's
Gears, here's Forza, here's Halo. Forza. You're done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, here's the 30th sequel to these games. It's just like we want to see something new, we want to see something fresh, And I think that I actually like that decision. I like the 50-50 split.
Yeah, I agree. Mind you, Returnal is a new IP. That game is phenomenal. I love Returnal. And I know I have seen some people online just like upset. I completely disagree with this, but there is this kind of like ever since like The Last of Us 1 came out, all of the big narrative-driven single-player games that PlayStation has come out from the PlayStation Studios, from first party, does the whole Naughty Dog, Last of Us kind of like the way mechanics work and stuff like that.
Third-person open world story-driven type games.
Mind you, like how the game operates, it's the narrative happen, like, instead of like only in cutscenes, it happens in gameplay and stuff. Like, there's a lot of people go, oh, this the way this game has been made, it's there's like the gameplay aspects, not like actual gameplay, but like when you're talking to a person. So like if Aloy is talking to a character in
Kind of like
Horizon,
movie non-interactive to some degree type of
I
games.
guess like it's just like people feel that like the way PlayStation develops their games, like their single player games, is the way Last of Us 1 was. When it comes to how narratives get told, how you interact with, how your character, how Kratos or Aloy or whoever interacts with other characters. I completely disagree with that, because like God of War 2018 feels far different to how Horizon Zero Dawn operates, to how Last of Us, to name each one. But I will definitely say one of the best parts, I love the PS3 era. That's what made me fall in love with PlayStation all over again. I had a PS1, then I went to Xbox, and then I went back to the PS3. And the PS3 made me fall in love with PlayStation, like why like I'm a PlayStation fan, because of all of the different, not only new IPs like Infamous and Uncharted, but then you had remasters and remakes of Ico, Shadow Colossus, Jack and Daxter. You
For
had a
me, that was more so the PlayStation 2 generation. That was the time of just all these, there's so many franchises that came into existence that it was hard to keep up with them.
yeah,
But at the
because
same time, they also really took time to take series that were maybe developed and had some success on PlayStation 1, but weren't utilized to their full extent. Like Armored Core, for example, you had 2 games on PlayStation 1, then you had like 7 on PlayStation 2. It was a huge hit. It was even a launch game for it. So, or Tekken being expanded with. I
yeah.
mean, there was, I think that's where I really fell in love with it. So, I wish they could get back to that. I feel. I mean, for me I mean, you're a mega fan. You like everything that PlayStation does for the most part. For me, I feel that they really, I guess they kind of lost that. For me, Sony, especially in the PlayStation 4 era, kind of I feel like they kind of lost that creative spark to some degree. I think the new original games for that generation were few and far between. I mean, they just weren't, or they just weren't of quality. Really, the main one that the key takeaway, like new IP that I enjoyed from that generation, was probably Ghost of Tsushima. That was probably the big one
Mm-hmm.
for me. Everything else was like a sequel or something. So it's I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they kind of lost that creative spark to some degree,
I mean,
and I
like,
hope they kind of.
no, go on. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go on.
I was about to finish my thought. Yeah, I hope they kind of get that back with this kind of strategy that they have.
I mean, you're not wrong completely. Like Last of Us Part 2, PS4 game. Infamous Second Son, PS4 game. Um, like I'm trying to think of like PlayStation Studios, like first party, that were brand new IPs, and I'm not like God of War 2018, phenomenal game, a game defining of its generation, but it is technically God of War 4. Um, you have Marvel Spider-Man, which is just mind you, it's a retelling of like a Spider-Man game, but it is the defining Spider-Man game. But we've had Spider-Man games for like decades. Um, I think really like you have Horizon, which was a new IP, which is phenomenal. Ghost of Tsushima, which like game of the year contender also. But like I can't really think of a lot of like brand new IPs coming to PS4, unlike with PS3. There's PlayStation All Stars, there's Infamous, there's Uncharted, and then if you go into PS2, God, it's just new IPs up the wazoo. Um, so no, I really, this makes me happy that like they want to go to a 50-50 split, like new IPs and existing IPs, and I think that is the way to go. Because it is kind of like we're getting another sequel, even though I'm excited. Like Horizon Forbidden West, Great game. I'm ridiculously excited for God of War Ragnarok, but like, what is kind of the new IP? Like, I will say, Xbox has a lot of new IPs that I'm really excited for. Um, like Awoken, the Obsidian RPG game. You have, um, all a bunch of stuff. There's new IPs coming from Xbox, and all we have from PlayStation. We have Horizon, which just came out, Gran Turismo 7, which was that was not good, and God of War Ragnarok, and that's about it. So yeah. All right, one last quick thing. Next topic is that Star Wars Jedi Survivor is the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order. So it's now, like, it's Star Wars Jedi. That is the series. And then after the colon, it's the whatever game that is. And now it's Survivor. Coming from The Verge. During the day 2 of the weekend long Star Wars celebration, and there's a lot of stuff from there. There was a first look at the sequel of Jedi Fallen Order, which is called Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which is expected to launch in 2023 for PS5, Series X, and PC. No past gen, no PS4, no Xbox One, just PS5, Series X. And I honestly am thinking this is going to, like, we even talked about it. We literally just talked about it. This is going to become the norm. Pretty much going to follow Cal Kestis after the events of Order 66 happening. He's still back with his little droid BD-1. This game takes 5 years after the Jedi Fallen Order and is once again described as a third-person, narrative-driven action-adventure game. Director Stig Asmussen, who is a phenomenal director, he's been a director for a multitude of some of my favorite games, says the sequel will include some next-gen features as well, most notably ray tracing support and faster load times. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, no, I mean I mean the game kind of grew on me to some degree. I think it was a masterpiece by no stretch of the imagination, was it? But it was it was something I enjoyed. I had a good time with it. I'm actually going to be probably playing for it again relatively soon. I picked it up on Steam on a sale. So I'm kind of curious to see what they'll do with a sequel, if they have any kind of interesting new ideas for it or how it's going to actually work out. So, I mean, I will say I was disappointed with the story of Fallen Order. I did think the story was not handled all that well, but we'll see what they do this time around.
The story was fine. The story did what it
Not
needed.
really, no.
Like no.
It,
Like what I mean though, have I played games that have had better narratives? Almost definitely. But I've played far worse Star Wars games, and I've played far worse narrative-driven games too, like Anthem. But really, what made it, I think, is just like we finally got a good Star Wars game from EA, and we never really got that. Battlefront 1 and 2, gameplay-wise, was fine, but it was hidden under a bunch of bullcrap, where this game kind of was able to shine and show like what it was able to do. And now I think we can get a really good narrative. Now they're like, all right, we got the mechanics down, we know how this works. Like, the gameplay mechanics are great in Jedi Fallen Order. Now you can actually work on a really fun, really good narrative on this. And I love Cal Kestis. Cal Kestis is great. So.
Sure.
He's like, yes. All right.
He's a very milquetoast protagonist, but I mean, I guess I don't hate him or anything like that. So
Jesus. All right, fine. All right. Well, we'll end it. We'll stop right there, and that is all of our news. So we do have one more thing to talk about. You ready to talk about our main topic?
I sure am.
Yes, all right. This is our PlayStation conversation. PlayStation. Okay. So, we're in E3 season. No, we're not. E3 isn't happening this year. But we're going into June, and we have multiple different press conferences happening. We already know Summer Game Fest is happening. We already know that Xbox is doing their showcase, their Xbox Bethesda Showcase. And now, PlayStation has announced on the PlayStation blog that there will be a state of play on June 2nd, if my calendar tells me right. June 2nd. Let me check. I am checking my calendar. That's why I look weird right now. Calendar to me. Yes, June 2nd. That is Thursday. June 2nd. And it will bring new game reveals, sneak peeks, and updates. It says, from the blog, it says, it's been more than 2 months since our last state of play, which the last state of play was, off the article, the last state of play was the most mess state of play I have seen. Oof. Anyway, it's been more than 2 months since our last state of play. Who's ready for a new one? Tune in live next Thursday, June 2nd, for nearly 30 minutes of announcements and updates from the world of PlayStation. Ooh, excuse me, I apologize. We have some exciting reveals from our third-party partners, plus a sneak peek at several games in development for PSVR 2. Watch it, and then it has what you can do. Okay. So first, let's talk about the state of play, and we can kind of then jump from there. What do you think we're going to be getting from this state of play? This is a state of play, not a PlayStation showcase. Could we be getting something more than what we have gotten in most state of plays?
No.
Really? Really?
No, I'm dead serious, actually. Yeah, no, I'm being jokey and snarky about it, but I am actually being serious.
Okay.
It's these state of plays. I mean, really, I mean, you don't have to be Nostradamus to predict how they're going to go. I mean, they are universally they're always disappointing. It's just the sad fact of reality. They're always disappointing. They just have never been well done. It seems like a dumping ground of just meh whatever news that it doesn't I don't know. They ever been good. I can't think of a scenario where they have been.
The only state of plays that I've actually enjoyed has been the ones where it's a deep dive into blank game. The Horizon Forbidden West was great. Last of Us Part 2 was great. Ghost of Tsushima was phenomenal. When they do a deep dive into specific games, like even the Gran Turismo one where even Gran Turismo is not a game I was interested in. It was like, oh, this is cool. Oh yeah, like this is great. But like your normal average state of plays have been either, not bad. Like there was one announcement which was great, or a bunch of nothing. There have been state of plays where we've gotten announcements of like indie games and stuff, but like state of plays, when state of plays happen, it's when they first announced.
You have to admit that they've been bad. A lot of them have been bad.
There have been more like bad ones than ones. The only ones I was like, I'm excited. It have been the ones where it's a deep dive into whatever. The one on Hogwarts Legacy. That's the most recent one we got. God, I'm so excited for that game. God, I'm so excited for Hogwarts Legacy. Like when it's a deep dive into whatever game it is, they're great. But if it's a generic state of play where it's like we're going to announce a bunch of stuff, like a Nintendo Direct, it doesn't work because they don't put in big stuff into this. I don't know why. But like,
well, I think you hit the nail on the head there, because I mean, yeah, comparing it to Nintendo is pretty apt too, because when I think of Nintendo Directs, I think you could anything could happen. You could have a big, huge announcement. It could be a bunch of little announcements and maybe a couple interesting things here and there. But you mean the idea is there's this premise of excitement that we could see like some bombshell huge game come out that we weren't expecting, and you just don't get that kind of excitement
or a new character for Smash. Like, dude,
you don't get that anymore. But
not anymore. But I'm talking about in the past. Like, there have been more, like even Nintendo Directs that were focused on here's the new character from Smash. We're going to do a Nintendo Direct based on that. People are excited for that, you know.
Yeah, and you don't get that with you know this you don't get that with a state of play. You never have, and it's it's a simple way to fix that, of course, is if they would just go ahead and do something like that. If they would go ahead and be like, okay, you know, here's a huge announcement for you, or here's I don't even know what they would put on there. Something that completely is out of left field. Like we're gonna remaster God of War 1 and 2, like a full remake or something. And we're gonna, you know, something just totally out of left field. Or here's or even a third party thing, like even a big third party announcement would be nice. Like, you know, here's your first look at Armored Core 6 or something like that. Like, I mean, I'm thinking of things out of my wish list, you know, but it's like, I mean, that's all it would take. It's just, I feel like it's just a dumping ground for indie stuff, and it just is, you know, that's really all it is. It's just
or like even like give me a like, oh, you don't have a release date for blank game. Here's the release date. Like that still those are big announcements in and of itself. You know, like even though we know about this game existing, there's no date to it. Now that there's a date to this, that's a big deal. People get excited for that. You know, like when, you know, E3 2016, when they did the big conference, you know, during that conference, we all knew Last Guardian was being made, but it finally got a date. That was a big deal. I think there was one state of play where they did the reveal of the launch date for Last of Us Part 2. That was a big deal. That was the only thing people talked about. No, everything else from that state of play, no one cared. No one cared. I mean, your PlayStation showcases are much more exciting than a state of play. And like, I guess maybe like PlayStation's thinking is like, state of play is that we can put all of our B to C games that we're working on and that are coming to PlayStation there, but the showcase is like, these are the games that you need to buy this year, next year, and the following year. But like, then it's so uneven by doing that. It's so like, then you're just like, well, state of play, who cares? But oh my god, the showcase is going to do some amazing stuff. Like, you need to balance it. And with this being in June, you should have something. You should have something here. You should have something here.
Yeah, you can't use the excuse of you know, oh, things are delayed or this. I mean, that doesn't fly anymore now in 2022.
Or you're going to wait for your showcase, which is at the end of summer. You're not going to get ahead of summer.
You got to show us. You got to show us something here, because I can tell you this. I mean, I'm sure. I'm positive. I mean, I don't think I'm going to eat my words here, but I'm positive that the Bethesda and, you know, Xbox Microsoft showcase, we're gonna get, you know, we're probably gonna get more information on and hopefully more gameplay on Starfield. Maybe we're gonna hear more about Elder Scrolls 6. Maybe we can see more of the new Fable reboot or reimagine or whatever it is. We will probably get you know, there'll probably be some generic stuff in there too, like some more content or whatever. But, you know, I mean, we will get, you know, announcements. We will get some, you know, some news there that's going to captivate us and get our attention. So I think you know, Sony, for these, I mean, I would just say for these state of plays, like, I mean, maybe, you know, unless you have something, don't bother, you know. I mean, because I think so much hype is built up for these, and it's just always disappointing. I mean, if you have just nothing to show, but you still want to show, like, okay, here's some, you know, B and C games that we're working on, just do like a press release or put it on the PlayStation blog or put up a YouTube video or two or whatever. Don't make it this event, because people are sort of psychologically trained now. If you see an event like this, it's like, there's a countdown and everything. Like, oh, this is gonna be big news. I can't wait to see this. And they watch it. It's just like I wasted a half hour of my life watching this. And I think they'd be better off with that. Save all your big heavy hitters for your showcase, or for if you have to do a special state of play and you want to do some updates and announce things. I mean, that might be fine too, but it's just, it needs to be more impactful.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why bother? Why even bother doing it then?
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I mean, and that's not to say that like everything that Microsoft does or everything that Nintendo does or whatever, every one of their directs or presentations is like is a grand slam. It's not. But I think consistently they tend to do better than what Sony's offer. Like I said, I immediately, when you asked that question, when you said about asking how the state of play was going to be, I'm just like, instantaneously, I know it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
It's always been bad.
Yeah.
They always probably will be bad at this rate. So I know I can say that without a fact. I'm expecting nothing but disappointment from that state of play, and then my actual interest, my actual any monochrome of excitement, it's going to be for the Bethesda Showcase. Hell, even the PC game showcase is probably going to be more exciting than the state of play, because at least with that, I might get some surprise announcements of things I haven't seen before.
Yeah. I mean, and I agree. So with this, we have reveals from our third-party partners and sneak peek at several games in development for PSVR 2. So what we've seen is that PlayStation likes to kind of.
I mean, that part of it might be intriguing.
Well, it could be good, yes, because we could get like some cool. We could get another Street Fighter. We could get some like another Tekken. We could get.
I don't know about that. I think the reason why they kind of tell you like beforehand too, like kind of what's going to be in the show is the sort of, I think they're trying to temper expectations a little bit and say like, hey, don't expect something crazy here, people. Like, this is just going to be this and that. But even then though, like, if you're going to do that, then why not just go on the PlayStation blog and say, here's videos of a couple of titles we're working on for VR2, or here's a new indie game that we're going to be. I understand this is like free publicity. This is more eyes are going to be on it if you do like a state of play. But at the same time, it eventually becomes like the boy who cried wolf.
Exactly.
Where it's like, okay, like for me, like I mean, I remember when they first started doing state of plays, I would actually be there, waiting for the countdown, watching it as it came, live. Yeah. And then it became like, oh, well, whatever. And now it's to the point where I'm not going to be there to watch it live. I know you will be probably, but I'll just be like, okay, whatever. I'll get a recap of it later, because I know there's going to be nothing interesting that's going to be announced anyways. Yeah. So why should I waste my time?
Yeah. And I mean, with that being said, like, it's kind of, I'm like predicting it. I'm just like, I mean, we're probably going to see more of Horizon Call of the Mountain. We may get some other VR games, because that's what it said. Third party could literally be from indies that will be fun, but like only a tiny sect of the gaming community will play, or maybe we'll get some big things. Who knows? But like with past state of plays, it's a totally different story. But so we have that, and if I will be streaming that, I'll be here. Spectre probably won't be here, but that's okay. I'll be here. You can see my reactions to all of that. But we're not only going to talk about state of play, we're also going to do our predictions for the Xbox Bethesda Showcase and Summer Game Fest. So let's go with the Summer Game Fest. What do you think would be shown at Summer Game Fest?
I don't really have a lot to say about Summer Game Fest. I mean, some things I would wish to see would be, at one point we were sort of soft confirmed to have a follow-up to, I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon, because it would have to be by a different developer. A follow-up to Tony Hawk Remastered 1 and 2. We were supposed to see a remaster of 3 and 4. I don't know who would be developing that, but it was sort of soft confirmed, and I would love to see that. I'd love to see that kind of like brought in and announced. And
yeah, I agree.
So I guess something like that, or I mean, really at this point, I mean, maybe a cool new IP. I mean, of course, but you could say that about every show. I'd like to see a cool new IP. Maybe like another remaster or something I'd be actually interested in playing. We got one on the horizon, at least with Dead Space, that I'm intrigued by. I'd like to see something else in addition to that to look forward to. And I think there's a lot of candidates out there for a good remake or remaster. And I think, and we've said this before, I think the era to really target with this and where you get the most returns out of it is the PlayStation 1, Nintendo 64 era. I think those games benefit a lot from a remaster, whereas a PlayStation 2 or especially like a PlayStation 3 or beyond title doesn't really get much out of a remaster because the games are already sort of look similar to what we have now to some degree. Whereas those early 3D games like on PlayStation 1 and N64 or Saturn games, those were like the first, trembling steps into the 3D world that we had for 3D video gaming world. So I would love to see more remakes or remasters from that era. Because I think there's a lot of fun stuff you could do with those. So
I think you could take early PS3. Like Demon's Souls PS5 is awesome. That was within the first year, maybe second year of the PS3. That was like, what, 06, 07? Something like that?
I think there's some PS2 titles that would really benefit from from the facelift, but I just think that, that would be something I would like to see in terms of things I'd actually like to see at the show. But I know it's going to be, I don't know. This is one where I don't really have a pulse on it. I know what to expect out of the state of play. I know what to expect out of the, kind of the PC show as well as the Xbox, Bethesda show. I kind of expect that. So the summer game show, I don't really know. I mean, it's more of a kind of a random grab bag of different things.
I mean, I could honestly see, because like there's always that one kind of like ending, like killer kind of thing. And I could see like From Software, like that's where they, the Elden Ring got announced. I think it was either at some Game Fest or at the Game Awards, and then, this existed. So like, what if it's Bloodborne 2, like you brought up? Could be that. That would be rad.
I mean, it could be. I mean, I would be disappointed in that because I don't really care. I mean, we just got a Souls game. Even if you're a Souls fan,
they're working on one. We're not getting one for another like 3+ years.
I'm sure a lot of people would be happy about that. I would not give a fraction of a fuck for that. I don't care about Souls games.
Swear words, Spectre. Swears.
Whatever, grow up. But anyways, they did confirm that there's that they were working on a new Armored Core game before. There was a confirmation of that at some point, so I would like to see what they're working on. Yeah, I mean, it's just, just do something different. I mean, they're already making all the money in the world anyways. What are they? I mean, just do something different. If anything, that's why I actually am in some ways appreciative of the success of the Souls games, because I think the Souls games have easily eclipsed the popularity of Armored Core or anything that or Tenchu or anything that From Software had done in the past. So now, in a way, if like they announce like, hey, this is you can see the banners go From Software, and you have like one of those really awesome CG cutscene openings that they have for an Armored Core game, and say Armored Core 6, that would be huge. That you get a lot of people that are Souls fans that maybe never played Armored Core, and because the last Armored Core game was like over 10 years ago now, so maybe they never even touched Armored Core, and they might be like, wow, I love the Souls games, and this is something they did before. Like this is like a big franchise they did before. Like, I'm intrigued. Like, this could be a chance for Armored Core to become to move out of just its niche appeal to a much wider genre. Because I think there's a lot in Armored Core. There's a lot of the DNA of Souls before Souls was a thing that was in Armored Core. It's with its difficulty, with its building a character, in this case a mech. I felt the process. I maybe the mission structure in Armored Core was part of the appeal to me. That's why I liked it a little bit better. And I liked the idea of, instead of, maybe for me, whatever reason, it just appealed to me to customize a mech was such a cool idea over like, let's say, instead of like an RPG character. And I think, what I really liked about it was just the ability to just kind of you had so many choices and so many things you could just change in between missions. That was really cool.
Yeah.
So I think that it would still appeal to a lot of Souls fans. Maybe that even never touched an Armored Core game. So I love to see something like that. So yeah, I don't know what else they could really announce for that. So I mean, I don't really have much else to say on that particular conference. But I think getting into the the Xbox Bethesda one, I think there's a lot we could say about that. I mean, it's of course, I mean, right out of the gate, of course, Starfield, even though it was delayed, they have to show us something. They can't they can't just let another big event go by and not show us really much, because the last time we saw it we didn't really see a whole lot of it. We need to see something a little bit more substantial now. Show us what this game is in. Show us what this game is actually going to play like.
Well, like, mind you, like, Bethesda did that to be like, everyone, leave us alone, shut up. This game exists, it's going to happen, please leave us alone. They did that, like, what was it? I think it was 2 years ago. I do agree.
I felt that's what they did with. I felt like that really was what they did with like Elder Scrolls 6, where they showed us literally just a title.
Oh, were you talking about Starfield or?
I was talking about Starfield. But
I'm sorry, I mixed the two up.
I think in terms of like just shut up and hey, we're working on this.
No. Starfield.
Don't bother us.
No, Starfield. You need to show a bunch of stuff. Like, you need to spend maybe 10 minutes. Like, you need to do a bunch of stuff. I need to know what Starfield is, because like, you pushed it back into next year. That game was going to come out this year. You better show I want to know what this game is about, because we barely have seen anything. So no, I agree. I thought you were talking about Elder Scrolls. I apologize.
In Elder Scrolls, I mean, literally, actually, Elder Scrolls would be easy. All they would really have to do at this point would be maybe show, a couple more sweeping, vistas of a new area. Yep. Give us, and then here's what you do: give us an actual title. Let's say Elder Scrolls 6 and Somerset Isles or whatever it is, wherever it would take place, and that would be enough to capture the imagination of everybody at that point. And maybe give like a release window,
2025,
like a projected release. And we know that's probably a very loose thing that can be switched and moved around, but whatever.
If you put the year, people are more okay with the year being moved than month, date, blah. People get far more upset. I think so, yeah. People get far more upset when you're like, we're launching September of, even if you take away the date. Let's say it's like, people were pissed when Redfall and Starfield were coming out, I think it was September, October of this year. Now it's into 2023. People were very upset about it.
I don't think anybody cares about Redfall, but I mean, it's
regardless, the internet was pissed.
Maybe 3 people were pissed, but
well, whatever. But anyway, what I'm saying though is that I personally will push it back as long as you're working to make it good. That's all that I care about. So I'm fine with that. But no, I agree. We need more for Starfield. We need to see far more of Starfield. I want to see more of the Awoken or whatever the game is from the RPG game from Obsidian. Excuse me. More from the.
I was gonna say I'd like to see some of the other big heavy hitters. Of course, would be, aside from Elder Scrolls and Starfield, would be of course the new Fable game that was teased before. Because we just got a CG teaser for that. We didn't really get any gameplay or any idea what it's going to be like or about, or where it fits in, if it does fit in at all with the past games. So I'd like to see more of that. I think they have to kind of show us a little bit more on that.
Yeah.
And I think another thing for one or both of these, one of them I'm not really excited to hear anything more about, unless it's going to be another reboot, and that is I'll start with that one. Wolfenstein. So Wolfenstein, I was a huge fan of New Order, and we had a sort of a, what's that?
And the old Colossus. It was Wolfenstein.
There was no, it was No. It was Wolfenstein New Order, which was fantastic.
Yes.
That was like that was another reboot. It was like how many reboots has been for Wolfenstein? It was like the second or third reboot of Wolfenstein, which was very well done, very well handled.
I agree.
Then you had the Old Blood, which is basically an expansion pack of sorts for which was just as good. And then you had Wolfenstein 2, the New Colossus, which was very poorly received, and it was seen as sort of moving in a very bad direction for the series. And I think a lot of people were like, okay, well, maybe we'll give it another chance, but then after that, they just piled on. It became even worse. It did hit a lot of work. So we got Youngblood. We got a VR title, which I really never played. I don't really know much about. And so we got those, and it's just like now Wolfenstein has gone from it's really done a 180. It's gone from like, wow, what a great revival, what a great return for this series after being dormant since like the last good Wolfenstein game we got before New Blood, or I meant not New Blood, before the New Order was Return to Castle Wolfenstein, which was like an ancient game. That was a PS2 era game. So I mean, it was a long gap between good Wolfenstein games. But now, we know that it was designed as a trilogy. We know there's going to be another game. And I don't know what they can do at this point. I would almost think if it was me, I would just say trash it and start over and do something different.
Well, Machine Gun Games is working on an Indiana Jones game. That's their next project. So we're probably going to see that.
But I think Wolfenstein is not gone forever.
No.
I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if they're going to have another developer work on a sequel or what they're going to do, or if they're going to look to just shelve it and remaster it or redo something later on down the road.
I don't know.
I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, it's a great franchise. I don't want to see it die. But at the same time, I think the direction they went into after 2, it's almost akin to what happened to the Battlefield franchise in the last 2 entries, where they just
Battlefield. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, they really just went off the rails in a very similar fashion, where they just really kind of just made a series of terrible, poor choices, and it took a lot of goodwill. It took a lot of the success of a couple of good games, and just completely threw it out the window. Dude. Yeah, I don't know. So Wolfenstein, I'm not really even that excited to see, unless we're going to get some sort of reboot or something. But it feels too soon for another reboot. I don't think we're going to see any Doom news. That seems too soon.
Yep.
I could see, and I would really be curious to see where they would go with it. I think we could. I mean, we're well overdue for another Fallout game, like a true single player Fallout experience.
Yeah.
And I know, 76 is still going. 76 is a live service quasi MMO game, and it's still going. And I actually have fun with 76. I'm actually a defender of 76.
I know. And it has gotten better. It has gotten better,
but I would like to see we need a Fallout 5. That's what we need.
Yeah.
We need a Fallout 5, and that would be. I think that would actually steal the show if they did that. Like a Fallout 5 or like a New Vegas 2 or something like that. I think that would steal the show if that was announced. That would be like, whoa, this is completely out of we weren't expecting this. Because really the Fallout franchise, I mean, it still pulls a lot of weight. It still has a lot of even after all the blood of recent times. I mean, it's still one of those things where it's like, oh wow, I can't wait to play this. And I think they could really steal the show if they just really if they came out even no gameplay, just a title.
No, I get
just another title.
But honestly, I think the biggest thing is that they need to put the Bethesda software games on a whole new engine. It can't be on the current creation engine, which is like, it's pretty much been built from the PS3 era, and all it has been done has been rejiggered over and over and over again to try to fit the current times. It is too glitchy, too old. You need to make a whole new engine for this. And I don't know if they're doing that for Starfield. But I either they are using a whole new engine for Starfield, or whatever Elder Scrolls 6 will be is going to be using a new engine. But that
Yeah, I can't say I know what which engine they're using for Starfield. I
but
can't say.
whatever it is, like mind you, the old creation engine is it's done. Like you need to use something new because ooh boy, it's not good. For me personally, I want to see what Arcane's up to. I know they just finished Deathloop, but I want to know what's next for them. I love Arcane, but probably not going to see them because Deathloop just came out. We'll probably see like, hey, Deathloop is coming to Xbox whatever day because it's a timed exclusive. Um, so I think that's like September or something. But I want to see the Obsidian game. I want to see Fable. I want to see um of course, like whatever Elder Scrolls 6 would be. Mind you, like I don't need to see Elder Scrolls 6. I need to see Starfield. That's what I need to see. I want to see Elder Scrolls 6, but like really, I'm fine with them just like being like, shut up, we're working on this game. It's being worked on. Everyone, leave us alone. That's what they did 2 years ago. Like when everyone.
We need something more than that. We need a title. We need just an idea, like a teaser of where this is going to take
But
place.
yeah, and
Uh,
I get
I'm
you there. I get you there, but like now's not the time. Personally, now's not the time. Focus on Starfield. Get the hype behind that game. Yeah, you can. I'm not saying you can't be like the name of the game, Elder Scrolls 6 blank. Somerset or whatever. Um, but you don't need to. I am not expecting to see Elder Scrolls 6 in this showcase. Um, but there's a bunch of other stuff. Could we see third parties? Sure. I would like to see what Double Fine is doing. They just finished up Psychonauts 2. I hope they're working on a new game, but we're probably not going to see anything. But again, like really, this showcase, so I think the takeaway from this coming showcase is to really go, all right, we bought all of these studios. What are they working on? And these are coming to Xbox. These are coming to Game Pass. Blah, blah, blah. Buy Game Pass. Game Pass is awesome because you want Game Pass because it's Game Pass. Buy Game Pass because it's these games on Game Pass. Like that's going to be the thing. And like the games that need to be shown have to be from the new studios that they acquired like 2 to 3 years ago. Because now is the time to like, all right, Gears is out. Probably going to get a Gears 6. Going to see another Forza because it's Forza. You got Halo Infinite out. Awesome. Now it's time for these new studios to shine. We're going to get Hellblade 2 because that has been shown every year. Show me a street date for that so that way we can get it out of the way. I'm looking forward to Hellblade, but I know I'm in a very small boat for that. So give a street date for Hellblade.
yes, you are.
Show the other like game. Show the other games. So like show me the Obsidian game. Show me Fable. Show me all the other stuff. And then you end with like, show me Starfield and all that kind of stuff, and then you can end on a big cliffhanger, which would be Elder Scrolls 6 or whatever. Or Fallout. You can do that too. Now you have Bethesda, now you can do that. Or it's something entirely different from within the Xbox, library. Who knows? But like I out of all of these, I am far more excited for Xbox than anything. Summer Game Fest I'm excited for, but it's just more of the unknown. I have no idea what I'm expecting with Summer Game Fest. State of Play, I pray to God Sony has something up their sleeve for this. There needs to be something for the State of Play. If this becomes another...
They don't.
I know. And again, my optimism is just getting the best of me because it's me. I hope and I pray that they do have something, just something to announce. Not just, here are VR games, here are indie titles, and maybe 1 or 2 third parties that like, woohoo, it's a collection of blank. Like, we got the Ninja Turtle collection, which is cool. I popped for that, but that's because I'm a 90s kid. So like, you gotta show me something. Gotta show me something that I'm excited for. Or... really, the state of plays, the only reason you should be doing state of plays is if it's deep dives into whatever game it is. Those state of plays I get excited for. normal state of plays. So any closing words, Spectre?
No, I mean, I think, we kind of gave our thoughts on it. I'm really looking forward to the Bethesda Xbox Showcase. I think it's gonna be very interesting. Same with the PC one to a lesser degree. The the Summer Games Fest one, and it's gonna be kind of a sort of a wild card here. I don't know what to expect from that. And then, of course, for the Sony one, I'm expecting to be disappointed. And I know I will. I know I will not be, disappointed to be in my belief that I'll be disappointed. So.
Yeah. So, alrighty. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/Brotherhood of Geeks, and please tell us what you guys think of what are you excited for? Are you excited for State of Play? Are you excited for anything that Xbox is showing, or Summer Game Fest? We'd love to hear what you guys think and talk to you guys. Like, comment, share, subscribe, tell everyone you know, tell everyone you don't know, all that kind of stuff, and also press the bell icon. That way, whenever we put up a video, you know we put up a video. You can also follow us on our Twitter, which is Dualshock'd, BOG. That's the name of this PlayStation podcast, Dualshock'd, BOG. You can also follow us on Twitch when we stream at twitch.tv/Brotherhood of Geeks. And then you can follow us on Facebook, just facebook.com/The Brotherhood of Geeks. And then Instagram, of course, which is instagram.com/Brotherhood of Geeks. So yeah, I'm looking forward to. I want the State of Play to be good, my man. I really hope so. Really hope so.
Don't hold your breath, man.
Alrighty. Well then, I guess that is everything. With that being said, I'm Brett J. Rasmussen.
Spectre.
And as always, live to play, play together. We'll see you guys next time.